All right, folks, we got another edition of Mullins Music and Memories. And of course, we've got great guests as always. Just finished doing the radio show with Mark Lee and had David Archer, who was talking about a little bit with his psychotherapy and things related around Dr. King, since we are in the day of remembering that great legend and all of that. And I know a number of folks are concerned about the changing of guards between one administration to the other, as we had that insurrection last week or a couple of weeks ago and everything. So folks are still very much on edge. I know that all 50 states are definitely having things going on in their area to try to make sure that there are no outbreaks or anything along that lines. And of course, folks are very much concerned about the economy that we live in and the hard times that many of us are facing and all of that. And of course, people are very much still concerned about the pandemic that we're in the middle of as well. As always, got some great guests, including one that I'm going to bring on with me and everything. Got Dooley KP, and he's definitely involved in the world of music and all of that. So definitely want to learn more about what he's got going on and have our listeners learn more about what he's doing and all of that. So Dooley, I'm glad that you were able to join me, and I know that our folks would love to hear more about what you're doing and also just some of your thoughts about what's going on in the world. I know that we're getting ready to change administrations, and a lot of folks are concerned about 2 days from now and what kind of impact society will have, as we had that craziness that happened almost 2 weeks ago and everything along that line. So I'd love to know what your thoughts are and how you're dealing, even in the age of this pandemic, as we've got a number of folks that are also concerned as musicians and artists just with getting work done, because a lot of it is impacting us, the pandemic, as well as the political landscape that we're in the middle of now. So, Dooley, glad you're able to join me and share a little bit with our listeners about yourself and what you're all about.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Yeah, definitely. So, tell a little bit about your folks. Tell a little bit about your background. I know that I've met you through the wonders of social media, and I know that you're definitely involved in the world of the arts. So, I know that our listeners on IBM TV would love to learn more about you and how you got involved in the art world.
Yeah, definitely. Music has been a part of me for, I would say, my whole life. I started when I was a child. So at the age of 6, I performed in front of the whole entire school, faculty and staff, students, and everything. So then it just kind of just grew apart, and it stayed with me. I would imitate most people, just listening to music. I would imitate no matter who it was. And I would just grow up just listening and trying to be them, taking the stage, and that's where it began. And then after that, I just kind of took it serious and ran with it a little bit. I've been doing it for a while, so now it's like, hey,
That sounds good. And tell folks, those that are not that familiar, where you're currently based at and just how you're doing with your music and everything, so that folks can learn a little bit more about you, where you're based at, and also a little bit more about how you are doing performances. Like I said earlier, I've got a good friend of mine who's a funk musician. He's really hoping to get back on the stage, do festivals, and do things along that line. But it's not as easy to do with the whole pandemic and how it's kind of shut down a lot of the music industry, or a lot of folks are doing things virtually. So, what are you doing in terms of your performance, and also let folks know a little bit about where you're currently based at?
gotcha. Definitely. Right now, currently based in Phoenix, between Phoenix and also out of Valdosta, Georgia. So Phoenix, Arizona, and Valdosta, those two places definitely would be the basis. But as far as the pandemic and the music, and like you said, it's just kind of hard. You just gotta, you know, go with the punches. There are some places that let you go, as long as the restrictions are met, so you can get in and do a little few performances here and there. But it's not definitely like it was before the pandemic came, where you have a show as much as possible. So it kind of affects. Now you got the virtual shows going. You really can't get out and touch the people. But hey,
Right.
whatever we have to do to keep us sharp. So
Oh yeah, and I know that some of my musician friends are saying that that's one of the things that they really regret, is that they can't actually get there and get that connection to the people, because a lot of times you musicians really need that strong connection to your audience and all of that. So that's definitely got to be hurting you, that you don't have that connection to the audience. And like I said, virtual shows are good. I've done some virtual festivals where I've emceed them, but it's not the same thing as actually being there in front of the audience and all of that. So how many virtual shows are you averaging, and how are you trying to interact with your audience in that virtual environment?
I only done a few of the virtual shows. Like I said, it's been kind of hard for me because like I said, I've been doing this out 6. I feed off of the crowd, so the virtual shows have been tough. I've done a few, um, but like I said, it's kind of hard to do when you're used to being able to feed off that energy and feed off. And when the crowd get entertained and get hyped, you get hyped, and it's kind of different.
Yeah, that
Whenever come my way, I'm gonna take.
Oh yeah, you're gonna do what you got to do. That's what we all do in these kind of situations. Everything. Who would you say were some of the people that inspired you when you first got into music? You said you started doing it when you were in school, but who are some of the musical influences that you see as your own influences?
Anybody that do music is pretty much, I would say, influence to me because they influence me in some kind of way. They open up a door. If you go back as early as the blues and Motown days for me, Michael and the Jackson Five Brothers was something huge that inspired me. Just looking at Mike, just do Mike. Then James Brown, of course, because I was entertained. Like they were entertainers. They didn't
Right.
just sing; they actually entertained. So I wanted to make sure if I was going to do something, I was going to be able to entertain as well. But then on the hip hop side where I'm from, I think Pac had a lot of influence, being that he was a poet as well. He could touch a lot of people. So, and then from the South there was Outkast. So,
Oh
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, Outkast is definitely a strong group, and definitely a lot of people like their style and everything. I know in talking to a number of my musician friends, both here as well as online and in person and everything, a lot of times they would get frustrated even before the pandemic with the way that the radio business treated them and the way that the concert venues treated them and things along that line, because a lot of times they were not getting the kind of support that they would like to get as an independent artist. So I was just wondering some of your thoughts about the music game even before the pandemic and how you're trying to break some of those chains.
Well, for me, the barriers has always been, like you said, coming from small cities. It's kind of tough to touch and break independent artists, but I had the work ethic and not giving up, and I just stayed focused. And I try to make commercial friendly music. I don't use profanity in my music. Yeah, that kind of helped a lot. To get the radio to play it and break the records. As I said, I had a record that actually hit the charts recently, so we just got waiting on our plaque for that, and then we just actually got a deal. So based on that, we before the pandemic, I was always consistently working, just trying to grow. But it is kind of tough when you're an independent artist. You don't have the financial backing to go touch some of those actual stations, or you don't have the network or the connections to go and say, "Hey, play my record." So it's gonna take a little bit more of push. But yeah, you don't really get the love because they look at you as it's a business, and you don't have the coming in without the business mindset of how to do it. It's tough.
Yeah. And how would you describe your musical style? Like, I know a lot of times folks don't even like to get labeled. I know that sometimes my funk musicians like to know that they can also incorporate other styles of music, be that jazz, be that blues, be that whatever. But if somebody was to ask Dooley to describe your music, how would you describe it?
It's poetry, and it's a term that was termed by my partner and myself. It's country poetry is what we call it, and we spell the country with a K. So poetry is what we do, and like I say, I was a poet before I was ever a artist. I used to write poems first, and then put music behind it, and then I'm being from the backwoods in the country, so we put that together, and that's what it is.
Cool. So a lot of your music has got that spoken word kind of flavor, and we know that spoken word is definitely very popular and things along that line. So it sounds like it's got both that spoken word element as well. So have you done any work in the spoken word environments of just doing spoken word competitions, or have you just strictly done the singing over it and the more traditional music aspect of it, or have you done both of those?
No, it's always been just the music part of it. I've never actually got into it. Just because, like I said, once I transitioned from writing poems to writing music, it just kind of just threw me on a whole different side of it. I didn't never actually get a chance to tap into the spoken word period. Just my thing was always if you can tell a story behind it, make somebody visualize it, then it's going to work. So that's what a lot of poets do. They make you visualize and feel and tell a story behind the meaning. So, but I never got to tap into the spoken word part.
Gotcha. And a lot of times, the spoken word artists and everything will also, as well as the hip hop artists and everything, they'll be kind of almost like the newsmakers of today. So a lot of times they will talk about the issues of today, be that the pandemic, be that race equality, be that even relationship kind of things along that line. So would you say that that's something that you do regularly, is that you tap on in terms of your words and in terms of your lyrics, a lot of the modern day things that are happening in today's society?
Yeah, I always try to make sure when I put out any kind of project, you have a situation to where you get to listen to current events, not even just current events, something that'll make you think. I got that from Goody Mob, and Goody Mob was a group that always touch that consciousness in you to let you talk about issues, whether it's past, future, or present. So that's what I try to do. I try to give you something, and I was always taught to grab somebody. You got to give them something to lure them in to make you listen to that. So even if you actually are able to go talk about something else, once you got them, you can have them listen to that type of music to where you give them reality.
Yeah, you definitely got to get that thing going on and everything. And one of the other things I noticed is that, and I think that is always important. It seems like you've definitely done not just the music aspect of your music with the whole country pimp kind of attitude and everything, but you've also been doing some things in terms of marketing. And I know that we've got a travel show here, and they think that marketing is very vital to everything that goes on. So, can you talk to our listeners a little bit about the importance of some of your marketing items as well?
Oh yeah, marketing is very important. So for me, I try to create something that's gonna grasp, like say, the people when you got that's gonna be easy to attract them to. So whether it be branding the name, whether it be branding a movement, So for me to market when I do my music, I think about the marketing aspect of say, okay, this will be easy to market if we go about doing this way, about doing it. So to touch people is the way that you find your target audience is by marketing. So you got to have that know how to do it. So
Yeah, you definitely got to have that target market and everything like that. Now, you've been in the game now for a little bit and everything. What advice do you give to others that are trying to break into the music field and everything? And definitely, you're in an area, being in Phoenix now, but you've also spent some time in Georgia, and we know that Georgia definitely had a burgeoning music community. I understand that definitely California has one. Not sure what Arizona's music scene looks like, but what kind of advice do you give to folks that are trying to break into music and everything?
persistence is key. Don't give up. Just stay focused. Always make sure you ain't scared, never scared to invest in yourself. Don't fall to the side of quitting. Because you already quit. You lost if you quit. To me, you know what I'm saying. So just be persistent. You're gonna hear a lot of no's, but at the end of the day, you're going to get those yeses if you work hard. Just keep work hard, stay focused, stay true to yourself. Don't let anyone tell you that you can't make it because you just use that as motivation. It was so many times that we heard no, or you can do this and you can't do that. I just like, I'm gonna shake it off and I'm gonna prove you wrong while proving myself that I can as well. Just walk by faith and not by sight. Keep God first, and when it is your time, it'll pop. You just got to be focused and persistent. Never give up.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense and everything along that line. Now, I noticed in doing a little bit of research on you and everything that you had actually, you mentioned that school show and everything, but it seems to me that you actually got introduced to rap by your brother and your brother's friends. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about that whole introduction into rap and hip hop and how they apparently talked you into getting involved in this. And then I'm sure folks would like to know more about this label that you've got as well, which is called Be Miss Boy Entertainment. But definitely, if you can start with a little bit of that early introduction to hip hop, and then we'll come up to the more current stuff that you're doing with Be Miss Boy Entertainment.
Gotcha. So one day I was at home, like I say, just listening to music, and I'm always that guy that likes to imitate somebody. But my brother, he was actually had some lyrics where he was writing on paper at the time. I wasn't writing lyrics. I didn't know nothing about it, and I just picked them up and I just looked at them, and I was kind of like, okay, what's this? And I'm trying to read what he's saying, and again, kind of enhancing my vocabulary because I'm not even understanding what the word is. But they would actually write their lyrics and whatnot, and then they just kept doing it and they were freestyling and I kind of grasped like, okay, that's something I would want to do. And then just went from there. It's like I just kind of took the torch and just kept running with it. While they stopped, I was like, this is what I want to do. They would do it for fun and a little bit, but I was like, nah, this is what I want to do. So
Yep, definitely. And tell us a little bit about the whole concept of the label, because, like I said, a lot of times folks don't even think about starting a label, but it sounds like you are not going to wait for the label to pick you up. You're going to start your own label, and then, like I said, if one of the bigger guys wants to pick you up, and I'm sure you'll be open to that. But it sounds like you were trying to do a little bit more of a proactive kind of attitude. So that's always a great thing when folks do that. So share a little bit about that as well.
well, I am from a place in Georgia. It's Battles, but it is Demas. So of course that's where I'm from. That's why I decided to do it. And every year I do what we call a Demas reunion tour where everybody comes together. So I was like, it's only right that I would name the entertainment company Venus Born Entertainment. Now it's just more than music because Countryside Records is the music part of it. Venus Born Entertainment, like I'm a writer. I was actually a major for English, so I love to write. Whether I wrote books, I wrote a movie script. I've been in a movie, so all that plays into the entertainment part of it. And then the music side is like, yeah, being where I'm from, you had to go and learn the business. Where I had to learn publishing, I had to learn how to market yourself and how to brand yourself. I had to find out how to go to network and by going to music conferences. I learned to find producers and production, and I had to learn about masters. So I learned the business on my own, along with my partner, one man, and we was like, know what, we ain't gonna have nobody come to us because we're in Valdosta. You got to go Atlanta or Miami, And Valdosta 75 is you're not gonna stop in Valdosta unless you're gonna say doing a show or something like that nature. But there's no big guys coming, so we decided like, hey, let's go. And then what happened is, like I said, we just got a deal through Sony, the Origin 26. So we actually got that deal a couple months ago. So based on us working, that's what happened. But we got an 80/20 deal with the partnership, and now that's what we're doing.
It sounds like y'all are doing some really positive things and everything. I know one of the things that oftentimes happens in music business, as well as just the entertainment business in general, is too often folks don't understand the business aspect of things. They don't necessarily have a business plan, or they're really good at the show aspect, but they don't necessarily have the business aspect. But it sounds to me like y'all are already ahead of the game in the relationship, that y'all already were trying to create a business plan and make sure that y'all had a whole game plan. So if you talk to our listeners about the importance of that, about having a very important business plan.
This That's what it is. It's business. 90% is business. 10% is talent. You gotta make sure you know the business before going in, because if not, then you're easily liable to get screwed over and not get what's due to you. And again, this art of yours, you deserve to benefit from. But you got to
Right.
know the business. So I encourage every artist to read and pick up some type of book or get advice or something from someone to say, hey, because me, I was just trial and error. It was just like, okay, we're gonna go, we fail, go and fail, go and fail. But if you got somebody that can provide you information, or you pick up a book, or because it's right now the internet has so much that it can give you, whereas when I was starting, it didn't have it. So you got ways of researching and searching for answers. Is learning the business. There's different kind of deals, whether it be publishing, whether it be a record deal. Like it's so many ways, and then there's so many ways to get money that the artists don't know, because it's hid. So if you don't do your research, you're going to be like, well, all I know is I'm getting paid for sales. But then there's mechanical royalty, there's publishing, there's marketing, and it's so much that you don't get to understand if you don't know the business.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You definitely got to have that understanding of the business, understand what the business is all about. And too many people don't do that. There are even some old heads that don't necessarily understand the business aspect of it. And they're just so busy concentrating on the show part of it. And I know there are a lot of weekend warriors as well. So, how important is it for you, as you were putting together your team, to work with folks that shared a similar vision? Because I know that a lot of times you'll find folks in the music industry or in entertainment in general that are only there for either one, the fame and fortune, or two, just there as almost like a hobby, not trying to make a career out of it or anything of that nature. But it definitely sounds like you and your primary partners are trying to make a full go of it and a full career of it and all of that. So, what are some of the ways that you're able to? How important is it, do you think, to have those connections that are having a similar view as your view?
I think it's very important for me. I always tell people this is my life, like this is my livelihood, my lifestyle. So if you just doing it for fun or hobby, then you really not to say waste time, because that's I don't have a lot of time to waste. And a lot of the artists that we have on the roster, they believe in me, they believe in the vision that I have, and they learn from me, because again, I teach. I don't, I was always told, if you get some information, make sure you pass it along to your brother. And you also got to be a good follower to be a good leader. So I followed, certain things, and was be able to be teachable and coachable, so that way I can pass it to them. So for my people, it's like, okay, we all learn together, we all find out information, we all go study, and if I know it, you're gonna know it. If you know it, I'm gonna know it. And you gotta understand that the business change every day, so we gotta stay on task and stay on top of what's going on. And that's how we interact. It's like we just rock that way, as far as always growing and teaching and learning. Because today it may be this way, and then tomorrow, another actual situation happened, like with the streaming. The whole situation changed when streaming came about. So we had to adapt. There's no more hand-to-hand sales, no more stores. A lot of it's online, so we had to adapt and learn that part. So you always got to continuously learning of ways of actually capitalizing on the changes. Don't
Yeah.
get discouraged when the change comes. Just adapt and read and learn.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And how many artists are on the label and everything? And is it strictly musical artists, or do you also have several filmmakers? Do you have like specialty acts, or is it pretty much just on the music side? I know you mentioned that you had been in some films, but I didn't know if you had filmmakers as part of your team.
No, right now I'm the only person that actually do the filming side of it. Like I said, I wrote the script, but we got some other scripts where people are actually writing. That's already done, and just like say, we just trying to find ways to get them out. You know, you got to have that financial backing. So it's like a total of three of those. Um, as far as the roster goes, we got about a good 5 or 6, 7 artists. We study growing, so we always looking to help another artist or advance another artist in their career if they really want to do it. So we got about a good 5 or 6 of those, and then like I said, we got authors. I'm an author. Like I said, I wrote a book. We got another person that's been writing books, clothing lines. I mean, we just try to make sure we stay on every avenue because the music industry is not the only way that you want to find have a source of income. That's not the only way you're going to win because there's not a lot of money, especially like right now when the pandemic hit. You lost shows, and then you don't have physical sales, so you got streaming, and it's like, okay, what do you do now? And if you don't have a way of generating income or find another way to get some financing, you're pretty much stuck. And then we don't depend on labels to go do what certain things. We're going to go find them ourselves. So
Yeah, one of the things you said you're doing, which I think more people probably need to be doing, is y'all have your own clothing line and all of that. And I know some people even have like their own cup lines and things along that line. And I know that even like one of the shows that we've got on our network is a wine show, and they've got a couple of shirts that they put out as well. And then of course they've got their wines and everything. But definitely, I think that that customer aspect of merchandise is very important, particularly if it's got your own brand on it. So it sounds like to me that you're trying to have everything have kind of that universal brand to it and everything.
oh yeah, I mean, I've actually part of ownership into a liquor company. That's one thing I've done. One Rock. Then, like I say, clothing line. I have a women clothing line, which is Pretty Girl. I have a men's own clothing line, which is Country Royalty. Then we have a Universal to where men and women both can do Hustlers Nations, and we also working on Trap Avenue. So there's like 4 or 5 different brands under the umbrella also.
Wow, definitely, and that's what a lot of folks need to do more of is having those kind of brand names and things along that line. How did y'all come up with the name of the different brands, including the names of the T-shirts and the names of the organization and everything? I'd love to hear about the story as to how the name came about.
Well, Pretty Girl came about through one of the artists. He actually did a song. Morpheus did a track called Pretty Girl, and I was like, man, we should do something with this. And then I was like, well, we can make this a clothing line. And I took it and got a little logo for it, got a trademark. Okay, boom. And that's how Pretty Girl came about. Hustlers Nation came about is because we had a mixtape come out, and it was like, wow, it's a nation of people that hustle. Whether you actually going to a job, doing music, whatever, that's your hustle. That's so it's
Right.
a nation. So we came about with that one. It's like, okay, we took it from a mixtape, let's make it a brand. And then as far as country royalty, I'm a king, and my right. That's how I feel about it. So I took it as like, well, I'm royalty. I'm from the country. Let's put country royalty together, and this is going to be an upscale brand for men. It's not going to be just like every urban wear. You're going to actually, try to have coats and jackets and sports coats and things of that nature. Then the Trap Avenue came again. It was just like we had another mixtape or another project we working on. Like, hey, that's a brand. Let's take that. So that's how those four came about. All pretty much come from the music side, and we just kind of switched it over.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like a real deep things with the music side and all of that. Definitely, as we were talking about, a lot of times folks are feeling that the separation also impacts the music. And I know that sounds like a lot of your artists are still in Georgia. You're now in Arizona. That's actually something that has impacted my friend Zach with his funk band because a number of his bandmates are in like the New York, New Jersey, Philly area, and because where he's originally from, being originally from New York, but now he's down here in North Carolina. I think he's got some other bandmates that are out toward the west, like where you are around the Texas area and Arizona area and all of that. But he sometimes finds it more difficult to connect everybody together because you don't want to do it necessarily through Zoom or through some of these other platforms. Because I don't know about you, but he definitely likes to be in a position where he can actually have a little bit more of a the professional product that he would like. So have the little bit more controls that you have if you're in the same studio with everybody. But with the age that we're in and everybody being scattered, that becomes harder. So how do you manage to deal with that if some of your artists are in Georgia, where you're originally from, and you're over there in Arizona.
Well, it's crazy because I got artists in different places. Like we got artists in Arizona, we got artists in Carolina, we got artists in Georgia, artists in Florida. So it's like you said, it's really, really for me kind of hard because I'm a person that like to work. When we're working, we're going to work. I
Right.
like, um, and I'm like, we got to have this done by this time. But we have Zoom calls now that we're actually separated. We do have to. We got to rely on the certain things that we have. We got to use every resource. So we have a Zoom call. We can call them know, hey, we need this because we got deadlines. We need y'all to turn in this music. Hey, we need y'all artwork. We need this. So the Zoom calls help. Definitely going in the studio is a difference because, like I say, the main guy or producer or engineer is in Atlanta, and me being in Phoenix, so I got to send my music to him, and it's a 2 or 3 hour time difference.
Right.
Or we got an engineer here in Arizona. If I'm on Georgia side and he's working 2 or 3 hour time difference, then like I said, guys in Carolina, everybody needs production and need music. So what we do is we like, hey, get on the Zoom call, tell us what you need, let's work. This is what we need from y'all. This is what needs to happen. So it is a little tough, but like I say, just don't want to stop you and get discouraged. You just keep focused and like, hey, we'll find a way. If there's a will, there's a way. So
Yeah, there's definitely that will there's a way kind of attitude. It sounds like y'all have got that on a regular basis and things along that line. Now, if somebody's listening and they want to kind of like join the family, what are kind of the prerequisites that y'all look for somebody to join the family of your label and things of that nature? So, what kind of material do y'all look for, and what kind of traits do y'all look for in your fellow artists? So, if somebody said they wanted to hear you and they're really liking your vibe and everything, and they wanted to get involved with the label, what are some of the things that you ask of them?
well, first, I mean, we believe in any artist. Like for us, I'm gonna put it to where I tell folks, I never tell or discourage any artist from doing anything because you're the creator. It's your mind. You see a vision that we don't see. So we've been told no, so we know how it is when the artist be like, I got told no. So now, if you bring your artwork, all we ask is the work ethic. Willing to be coachable, willing to be learned, because we got gospel rap artists, we've got hip hop artists, we got singers. Like we, whatever you feel like you can do, we can help. If you're coachable, teachable, and you want to be a part of it. If you work hard, we're going to work with you. So that's our whole thing. It just pretty much is that let us see that you're willing to invest in yourself and your time and your craft. You're coachable and willing to learn. Because my thing, before you even do any kind of music, hey, let's see what your paperwork look like. Let's make sure you register with ASCAP or BMI. Make sure your sound exchange for your royalties, because we want you to get paid. At the end of the day, we don't want you to look at us and say, well, I didn't get my just due. I'm not getting what I deserve. Well, before you even come in, we want to make sure you got this stuff done and teach you about this stuff. So then when you do have the music out, you be like, wow, now I'm seeing what they was teaching me from the beginning. And every artist be like, why you always ask us this first? You ain't even heard no music. Well, I don't need to hear no music if I don't know the paperwork more. If I ask you about the paperwork and you say, what is that? I know you ain't done it yet. So let's get this train rolling. Then we can talk about music. Because again, it's 90% business, 10% talent.
Oh yeah, definitely, and I agree with you on that. And a lot of times, folks don't think about that aspect of it and everything. One of the things that I know a good friend of mine, Ray Pascal, talks about is what he calls the brain drain, which is when a number of festivals or venues or a number of other things will try to get you to do stuff and basically not want to give you the reward for it. And the same thing with the music business and all of that. So, how do you handle that when you run across that? Because I do know that happens a number of places. There might be like your local church or your local community. They want you to do something for nothing, or want your artist to do something for nothing for that dreaded word exposure and all of that. And while exposure can be a good thing, exposure doesn't, as you just put it, pay the bill. So what ways do you address that when you're hit by that kind of conversation? Because I know that happens in Georgia, just like it happens in North Carolina, just like it happens throughout the world.
Oh yeah, you definitely got those situations. For me, I look at the situation and see if it's going to be beneficial. That's how I would judge it based on that. How many people is going to be there for me to do this? Am I going to get something out of it? It don't always have to be compensation as far as pay, but are there someone that I make a network with? Is there something that can help advance my career? Or how many people that may become potential fans? So it just depends on the venue. It depends on the situation. You always want to judge that based on certain things because I learned money is not always the best thing to get out of it. Because again, if you sign a deal today with an artist or they sign to a label and they give you an advance, where now you gave up more than what you could have got if you didn't take the advance. So sometimes the compensation of money is not always what you need, because being that you signed this advance, this is a loan, meaning that you still owe you in debt now when you come in. Then if you got to have marketing and branding, now they got to recoup everything that comes in. So now you got already a deeper hole. They give you any kind of gifts, you're in a deeper hole. So now before you even see any kind of royalties or any kind of compensation, because you took this money up front, looking at the dollar and not the whole big picture of the value of yourself, you just lost. So in the same situation when you have those venues, I'm like, okay, it may not be money that I might need right now. Something may be more beneficial. I may attract more fans, or I may run into somebody that can advance my career. I may run into, some people that can help network in other avenues, or someone I can help, So it just depends. You just gotta kind of judge.
Definitely. And it sounds like you're doing a lot of different things in terms of the way that you're handling things. Because it also seems like you're part of a network of channels and everything. Because I'm seeing that you've got something called the Decent and in Order show that you do with Miss Chocolate and Wise King. So I'd love to know more about what that's all about, and how y'all are trying to get that going. But it looks like y'all are trying to do something in the TV realm as well. So I see that y'all have got this program called the Decent and in Order show.
The Decent in Order show was actually brought to me by Miss Chocolate. I was a guest on that show. And big up to the Decent in Order show. That's a positive show for underground and any artist, and not just artists, but anything. So, they do this thing on every Sunday, twice or 2 Sundays out the month. So that show was great and beneficial. Miss Chocolate is actually the person that, was PR, helping me as far as advancing, getting on that radio and things of that nature. She came across and helped us out a lot, and also helped lock in that deal. So big up to Miss Chocolate. And then Wise King, this guy's his talent. He's from Africa and he's a producer. He's actually a video like this dude. He wear a lot of helmets. Like he just got a very very talented young king. And when I tell you, like, man. So we actually working on a project together as well. But yeah, the Decent in Order show is definitely something that's a huge, and big up to those guys who actually did that. And I was glad to be a part of their show. And like I said, it's just something that people can actually tune into if they want to, learn some positivity. You know what I'm saying? And if you're an actual artist looking for an avenue, those brothers are actually great to work with.
Sounds like they've got some great things that they're doing on a regular basis. So it looks like you were on one of the shows toward the end of last year. So it looks like that particular episode that I had pulled up was something that was going on from right around Christmas time and all of that. So definitely it seems like they're doing some great things, and you've got some other great things that are going on as well in that regard. So sounds like you're definitely keeping very busy. Tell us a little bit about this film that you've been working on, because you mentioned that a couple of times. So I'm sure our listeners would love to know about the film. We've actually got a show that Henry Morales does, and he's part of a group out of California, and they've got some filmmaking things that they do regularly, and their show is actually on Tuesdays. So it's on Tuesday afternoons around noon, if I remember correctly. But definitely tell us a little bit about the movie that you're working on.
The script was actually written, I would say, we just went into 2021. So the script has been around for about over a decade, because I've been in Arizona about 8 years. So I'm looking at about a 12, 13 year situation with that script. And then we turned it into a book. It was called The Trap First, being that it's about a young man who finds his way out of negativity, and then he tries to stays positive, but his surroundings and situations always bring him back. So he's finding himself just trapped going into a circle, along with different situations that actually creates those circles. So, they say you're a part of an environment, but even when you step out of that environment, there's something that can always draw you back into the light. So it's pretty much just saying that this guy is actually just trying to better himself, and he's trying to walk away from the negative of all the things that he's been through, and trying to walk straight and narrow, but some things are always drawing him back as life happens. But that's just one of the situations. And then, like say, I was in spoken word. Shout out to Tamika Rochelle on there. She actually casted me, and I was never ever in a movie, but I was like, if I can rock the stage, I can go in here and act a little bit. But again, it's a challenge, because lights and rerunning the script and then reshooting. So it was like, yeah, this is not the same as you just being on stage. You come into a different element, but it's easier if you've actually had that element of being on stage, to where you can. Because I'm a type of different person. Like, I'm laid back as far as my character, but when I'm actually on stage, I become something different. So I can kind of relate to when you go and play in front of a role. But Spoken Word was the movie. It actually premiered at a big theater. I saw myself on the big screen, and we had a big premiere for it. So it was just huge. And now I'm working on another script. So even before this script even get anything done with, we're working on another.
And what's the other script going to be about? Is it going to be around that same kind of redemption kind of story of trying to go through hard times and realizing that you're going through hard times, but trying to like recover from those hard times, or is this going to be something totally different?
Something totally different. I have two ideas in mind, and because I want to, challenge myself. One to be a love story, and one to be a comedy. So, you don't want to stay stuck in a box of saying, well, you only write this kind of music or you only write this kind of movies and film. You want to be able to say, no, I'm not in a box. I want to take you to somewhere different. And okay, you did this movie and you did this script. Now let's go to this. Can you actually put together a love story? Find the elements to do that, or can you put together a comedy and find the elements? And so that's the situation. I'm contemplating which one we want to go first because both of them are going to get done as far as me writing them. So it just depends on which one I want to go first.
And how important do you think it is to have that connection to your environment? Like you said, you definitely mentioned that you were raised in Valdosta, Georgia, but then you've definitely moved over there to Phoenix and everything. But how important do you think it is to add the element of those towns to your art form, whether that's Valdosta or whether that is Phoenix? But how important do you think it is to add that aspect of your life into your career?
It's very important for me. Like I say, Valdosta is always going to be home, and Bemis is. I do a Bemis Day every year. So we even working on getting ready for that this year too. But that's every year for me to even go tap back in with my people from back home. So and then Phoenix, I have people here that show me love and support and family over here. So it's definitely keep that in mind because that helps you grow. That makes you who you are, and able to put that into your entertainment and growth. You see certain things when you step outside of an element. So if I'm in this environment today and I go back home, things have changed since the last time I've been there. So I can take this, and if I come back to Phoenix, the same thing. Things have changed. So it's just that it works, and you definitely got to be a part of that environment. You need that environment to be into who you are. It makes you.
Yeah, those environments definitely make you and everything. I know that Valdosta has a reputation for being somewhat of a sports town. I think they've had some major football players and everything that came out of that area and everything. And of course, it's not that far from some of the bigger cities in Georgia and all of that. So definitely, I was just wondering if you could tell us a little bit about your assessment of Valdosta and also just your thoughts on Georgia, because Georgia has definitely been in the news recently. We saw that Georgia finally flipped back to the Democratic side with that election where both Democrats won, and there was a lot of folks that were mobilizing the voters in Georgia because of the voter suppression that had happened before. But I just love your thoughts on your home state of Georgia, and particularly your home city area of Valdosta.
Yeah, but also definitely known for sports. I actually played ball, so I know how that goes when you got the sports situation. That's what we're known for. If you say anything about also, they you don't say music. You're definitely going to get sports. But there's a lot of talent there. There's a lot of music talent. There's a lot of ambitious people. A lot of folks that you just like I said don't have the avenues to get out. So you have to take your stuff outside, and that's what I had to understand is like don't be content, don't stay still, don't just sit here. Kind of take yourself out of the element, but don't forget where you're from, even though you take it out. And but also, like I said, it's the place again this small but this big. You see what I'm saying? Like it's compact. Got a lot of people. A lot of people migrate there through the military base. Because of the military base there, then they also have the actual college. So VSU helps to bring in, a lot of people. But again, as far as Georgia itself, it's depending on who you are. It's not for everybody, definitely. Because of course we just, as you see, just flip, like you say, just getting those Democrats back on the side or turn it to a different state, to the blue side, and
Right.
it definitely has not always been that way. Me growing up in Georgia was never always been that way. Certain things that we've seen lately, we got grown accustomed to. You know what I'm saying? It's like this is happens on a regular. Not, I mean, you used to a lot of it. So,
Right.
but when you talk about the changes that came, we really, really appreciate the changes because being from there and going back there, you're like, man, this wasn't here when I was there. You can see the change happening. It makes it a whole lot different from just being where you accustomed to.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You definitely got those changes and everything. Now, what got you from Valdosta to Phoenix? And tell us a little bit about your impressions of Phoenix as well.
So for me, um, I used to come. I used to stay in Phoenix when I was small, about fourth grade. So I was out here. I got family here. My grandma, sister, kids is out here. So I had family here as well. Aunt here and things of that nature. So just coming in and out as a child growing up, I got to see some of Phoenix. And then right before my grandmother passed, I brought her out here for her last time. And then I had my brother out here. He was like, "Hey, you need to come." And I brought music out here with me. And I was kind of ahead of what's going on because at this time you still had the CDs and stuff. But I was putting my music on digital download cards, and it was something that I went out and stood on the stores and stuff of that nature, and people was like, "There's something different to them." And I caught it. I was like, "Okay, well, this is where I need to be at. It's a different market because back home it's oversaturated. I can't go to Atlanta because everybody knows Atlanta is a home to break people, but there's so many people doing it. If I come out here, it's wide open." So a couple of months, I came out and it was like they welcomed with open arms. It's like they got to accept me as far as me bringing the music out here. So I was like, dang, I can just tap in this market. And ever since then, it was like I was growing more than I was about Austin. I don't know if it was just because of the resources or me being so close to, because I've been to Denver, Utah, California, New Mexico, and me being so close to these places, it was easier for me to get to versus when I was in Georgia. I got on, there was Florida, there was the Carolinas, and there's Mississippi, Tennessee, but it's all southern region, and we all doing the same thing. When you get out here, the next thing was California,
Right.
So and when there's other states that doing it but not doing it on the level that that region was doing it on, it made it kind of accessible. So that's why I was like, hey, let me just transfer over here to Arizona and tap into this market. It's wide open. They accept the music. I brought something that no one else was doing. So that was again my marketing strategy and kind of worked, and that's where I'm at today.
It makes sense. Now, what do you think about folks that try to break the hip hop artists and the hip hop music into regions? Because, like I said, hip hop is relatively new as a music form. I think it just recently celebrated like its 50th or something like that birthday and everything. But definitely, it's a relatively new music form. But a lot of times, folks will try to do the East Coast versus the West Coast, the Atlanta sound versus the Chicago sound. So they'll try to do those regional breakdowns. So, what is your thoughts about folks that try to do those regional breakdowns within the hip hop industry where they try to differentiate one style from another?
Um, I don't too much say it's needed, but it is because my project, I try to work with every project. Like the last project I put up, I had some West Coast sounds, and I'm a down south artist. You know what I'm saying? Me bringing country slang or poetry over a West Coast beat, most people didn't understand how that's going to happen because most of the time you just see down south working with down south beats. And now you see a lot of people working with down south beats, and it kind of merged the fact. But I like to work with the East Coast. When I was in New York, and I went to deal with some of those cats out in New York, same thing, open arms and love, and we were like, hey, we can make some music because they talented. Me, I like to look at the talent. It's not about where you're from because it's where you at. You got people from everywhere in a melting pot in Arizona or Vegas and some of these other places. They're not from there. It's just they migrated here. So and it's vice versa in Atlanta. A lot of those people are not from Atlanta. They just came there because it was open doors. In Miami, same scenario. They didn't come from there. They just came there because of the way of breaking the music. So to me, I think you need to separate them, but they need to actually have them to where they're together because we know New York is the mecca of hip hop, the original birthplace and where a lot of that started. So you're going to have that side, and then in California they have their way of doing it. Then you have the South, and we have our way of doing it. So I mean, it definitely is needed to be separated, but it also needs to be together.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Definitely got those separations, and then you don't always have to have them all the time separated. What's some of the great myths that you think folks have about hip hop and about music in general? Because I think that a lot of times folks get caught up in the music business. Definitely talked about that 90-10 rule, and I definitely agree with you on that. But definitely, what are some of the other myths that you think folks have and everything?
For one, is that it's all glitz and glamour without no work. Most people that have a career enjoy what they're doing, but you still work. Whether you're a nurse, doctor, lawyer, you enjoy it, but you still work. Most people feel like when you get into the entertainment business, music business, anyway, you're just going to be able to do something that you like, without any work. You're gonna make all this money. It's the glitz and the glamour, the fame. Oh, I'm gonna. It's not even the case. Because at the end of the day, you still got to go in the studio. You still got to make sure your song is mixed and mastered. You got to go promote this music. You got to market this music. Because once the song is done, how you gonna get it to the masses? You got to have a plan. So you got to formulate some type of way of getting to this. So they think it's so easy. Oh, and I make a lot of money. Again, if you're not a hard worker, you're not gonna make a lot of money. So if you're not finding other ways to, like right now, a lot of artists that make money in 2020 based on the fact of the pandemic. So what do you do now when you're relying on someone to hand feed you, so that I should say, by giving you shows and doing stuff like that? You have somebody that work with you. You don't have no other way of making money. So it's not at all as that saying that you can just actually make a lot of money in this without work. You have to work. So that's one thing. The second thing is that, with music, depends on the type of music. It's the energy. You have the negative energy and the positive energy. What I've seen from hip hop has actually bridged gaps in countries. Hip hop has brought you. If I say, well, if it's going to be a war, we've seen hip hop can go from one country to the next and bring people together. But we've also seen hip hop destroy. You see what I'm saying? So peoples and cultures, and hip hop gets blamed for that a lot. If something bad happens, it's all based on, oh, it's the music, it's hip hop, it's this. But it's not always the case, because we do have some positive side over here as well, and some of them are just actually relaying messages and telling you, like I said, forethought. Pac was one of the ones that told you, NWA was actually people letting you know what was going on, and for y'all that not seeing what's going on or didn't see what's going on, we brought it to you. Good and Mob, again, cell therapy, they was talking about the pandemic and what's going on almost 20 years ago. So we have those people that actually teach you, just put you in, and but then again, it depends on the energy. So to me, it's always been that myth of hip hop has been the bad guy. Blame everything on hip hop, and it's not always the case. We've had the self destruction with big up KRS-One for doing that. We've had the West Coast All Stars with all in the same game to stop by. So it's not always hip hop just saying that we've done everything, but there's always been crime. There's always going to be crime. It's not always based on hip hop. You're going to have that. Is it an element? Yeah, I mean, what's not? There's westerns that come on and show people that shooting. There's TV. So it just depends on how you view certain things. But those myths of you're going to make a lot of money, it's just like, again, if you're not working for it, it's not going to happen.
You definitely got to work for it. There's no doubt about that. And too often folks think that it's just going to happen automatically and that they don't have to work for it any regards or anything along that line. But you're right. You definitely got to keep those drives going and all of that. And it sounds like you're doing a great job of keeping those drives going. Another thing that I know that you're very much proud about, because you mentioned it earlier, was the fact that a lot of your lyrics are very much what would be considered clean lyrics, if we were talking about like clean comedy and things along that nature, and not a lot of profanity and a lot of cussing, and definitely not a lot of derogatory words. So could you talk to our listeners a little bit about the importance of that to you and to your brand? Because it sounds to me like that's very important to your brand, is that you want to keep it something that's in a positive nature.
Oh yeah. So for me, this happened about seventh, eighth grade. Just when I was writing music, and I was like, I feel like we don't need to use profanity to get my point across. Most times people use profanity is just emotion or lack of vocabulary. If I can find something to substitute a word with having to put profanity there, it enhances my vocabulary. So that's what I started doing. I was like, I don't need to use profanity or derogatory marks to sell music. I can still give you good music without saying this. And I'm not disrespecting those that do, because hey, if you feel like that's how you gotta do it, you handle it. But I know it's gonna be easier for me to get radio play. It's gonna be easy to me to get videos spent. I know that's less work in the studio for an engineer to have to make two versions or edit
Right.
it and make a clean, for it to get played. And I'm all about positive movement. So, of course, that's how I feel. Like I don't really dwell on a lot of negative stuff. So, have I come from negativity? Yes, I've done negative things. Yes, but if I can focus on positive and I can focus on a way of being productive, that's my goal. And I always try to make sure in my music I'm doing that. Like I said, just trying to stay away from the norm. Don't put me in a box, because I may tell a story over here talking about this about streets, but I'm not going to put that element of profanity in it, and then I can come over here and be in a club and just do the same thing without me using profanity, because again, we need the radio to play the music to break the record. So therefore, if I don't have the radio behind me, that machine to break a record, guess what? I'm lacking. If I don't have a way of actually getting it out, and I don't want to double work myself. That's like pointless. I got to go back in the studio again and make another version when I already made one version. Like I don't want to do that. Let me go ahead and get one version done and go to the next, and if I can keep it clean. Let's go.
Yeah, definitely, and everything. By the way, we've got a couple of folks that have popped in saying hello to us and everything. So Tim Sohn, who's actually in Pennsylvania and actually is a friend of mine that regularly pops in and everything. So he was saying hello, and he actually does some shows up there around the Pennsylvania area and is a marketing master and all of that. And then Finsley, no relation to me, said loving it. So they were loving the conversation and all of that. So we definitely were having some folks that were checking out our conversation and loving what we were talking about and all of that. By the way, Dooley, he was Tim was saying that he's really digging your shades. That he said, "What's up, Dooley? Love those shades." So he's really digging your shades and everything.
Look up for Tim for checking in. Thanks. Yeah, thanks.
Yep, definitely. So you're checking out those shades and all of that. You talked about, and I think that redemption is something that's very important. And we can go through our bad elements, and definitely there have been folks that have done things that they may not have been proud of, whether that's the drug world, whether that's the kind of gang world, whether that's the number of other worlds that are out there. But it seems to me part of the message that you try to encourage people to do is that one is that you can make money and you can be a success without having to do those kind of things in life, because we know that those things can also, while they may give you instant cash, they can also lead to instant hardship when you get caught and all of that. But then also, it sounds like you're saying that a lot of those assets that they use in creating those businesses are assets that they can use in the entertainment world. So is that something that you tried to um, let your folks know and your community know, that some of the things that they might have seen in the, say, the drug world or any of those other negative worlds are assets that they can bring into the business world and then make the money in more of the honest kind of traditional way and not have to face the consequences of jail or death or some of the other things that that life can lead you to.
Oh, of course, definitely. I've been on both sides of it. So for me, being that I am what you would say the backbone or of not just a label but even of my family, so I'm the guy that a lot of people call on and carry the weight. So for me, it was always by any means necessary. But hustler don't mean you have to be on the street corner. Hustler doesn't mean you got to actually be negative. Hustler doesn't mean you got to do something illegal. Did I done some certain things? Yes. I mean, I went from selling dinners like plates. I would take barbecue plates and sell them to the job. Stuff of that nature. I would sell clothes out of the trunk of my car. I would actually do whatever it took to say, well, let's go get some money. But I was always known at the end of the day as a person that was going to find a way to do some certain things. So I applied that, like you said, just to business. Like, hey, man, if I can come over here and talk to this customer about buying food that I cook, I can talk to you about selling this music.
Right.
If I can talk to you about clothes that I've sold out the trunk of a car, or I can come over here and do the same thing. Like I've done pretty much sold everything. I was what I would call myself the ultimate hustler. A lot of people call me the modern Master P, and I appreciate it, but I kind of took what P did and it was like, hey, if P can do certain things, then I can do it too. So yeah, I mean, I feel like you can take any kind of, if you can do it in a negative word, you can do it in the positive, if that makes sense. Like you can go on the street corner and stay out there all night and grind and do it. And guess what? You can apply that same method and come over here and do it in a positive side. All you gotta do is find a product that you believe in, that you're gonna invest in, market your product and sell it.
Definitely. Speaking of selling it, I did want folks to hear at least a little bit of your music before getting ready to wrap up the segment of the interview with you and everything. And definitely one of the things I always do at the end of everybody's segment is give them an opportunity to share, one, how folks can reach them, but two, also give a word of encouragement and positivity. That's something I do with all my guests. But before we get to that, I did want folks to check out a little bit of your music and everything. So I was going to bring up one of your YouTube numbers, which is Go Up. So I was going to bring up Go Up and all of that. So definitely, if you want to share a little bit about what Go Up is all about and a little bit about that, and I might pull up one or two of the other videos as well. But I definitely wanted folks to check a little bit of Go Up and a little bit of the Go Up sound and all of that. So tell folks a little bit about Go Up.
Go Up was a anthem for pretty much for the club. Around this time, people that go up, at the time they just want to have fun and go to a level to the sky. You know, you whether you've actually you got your drink in your cup or if you smoking or whatever the case may be, that's what you're doing. You're just going up. So, hey,
Well,
party.
cool. Party is always a good thing. We're gonna let them check out a little bit of Go Up and what Go Up is all about. So that being said, we're gonna bring that on up and we'll hit Go Up.
Got you.
I heard it was a 420 party going on somewhere. Yo, what else somewhere? You know, hoes follow the weed. Yo, you know, bad bitches, they love weed. There's gonna be some ignorant hoes. There's gonna be some ignorant hoes with some ignorant ass niggas. Y'all gonna roll up for. We already know. We already know. Hey, but we can go up. We can go up.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, it's a King Country pimpin' on what I'm talking about. And in the club, we all finna go up. Dude, it KP. Hey. I say roll up, blow up, everybody get toe up. In the club, we all gon' roll up. If they hate for to get no love, I say roll up, blow up, everybody get toe up. In the club, we all gon' roll up. If they hate for to get no love, I say roll up, blow up, everybody get toe up. In the club, we all gon' go up. If they hate for to get no love, I say roll up, blow up, everybody get toe up. In the club, we all gon' roll up. If they hate for to get no love, get bored, get wild. Not everybody get high. No need to push and show up, cause we all getting inside. Ask your partner where that draw at. Tell them go on and roll that. Tell them pump pass so everybody can blow that. Man, the club be so packed. Tell the bartender don't pull that. Not everybody here messed up and you already know that. All my dog be wasted. Big boots we chasing. And all my dog blow money cause got pockets full of big faces. I say roll up. Toe up, everybody get toe up. In the club, we all gon' roll up. If they hate for to get no love, I say roll up, toe up. Everybody get toe up. In the club, we all gon' roll up. If they hate for to get no love, don't drink, don't smoke. But your boy still gon' go up. If anybody hear me mugging, I'ma gonna tell that boy to go on and hold up. Good to say, gon' get rich to this. Morpheus say, get bit to this. So I'm looking for a nice round beat with a freak to go on and shake her hips to this. That's my song. So put it on replay. I'm starting to feel like we was screaming out. Go DJ. So we get a little rowdy. And I might just spill your drink on the floor. My bad dog, come on, let's go back to the bar and order some more. Tell them we want them bottles. And we want them models. And I'm heading to VIP. So tell them to come on and follow. Cause girl, this where that dough at. That drove my partner gon' roll that. That drink, you know we pro that. Go up in the club, you know that. I say roll up. Toe up, everybody get toe up. In the club, we all gon' roll up. If they hate for to get no love, I say roll up, toe up. Everybody get toe up. In the club, we all gon' roll up. If they hate for to get no love, I say roll up, toe up. Everybody get toe up. In the club, we all gon' roll up. If they hate for to get no love, I say roll up, toe up. Everybody get toe up. In the club, we all gon' roll up. If they hate for to get no love, no love.
And that was Go Up and everything. So we were checking a little bit of that out, and definitely that was some great sounds by you. And definitely, I think folks were enjoying what that was all about. And I might give some more taste of your music later on as well. But definitely, I think folks definitely got a chance to enjoy some of your amazing sounds and what you're all about. So definitely, that was some a little bit of taste of your music and everything. What how important do you think it is for musicians to also use the music as a tool both for the party vibe, but also as a tool to be like voices of change? Because I know that a lot of times with everything that's been going on in the world, we've been thinking about our athletes as well as our musicians and how they have played their role in Black Lives Matter and a number of other things that have gone in our society. So, you as an artist, how important do you think it is to use your music and your voice as a method to help make change in society?
Very important because you have a platform that can reach the masses, and then, and again, people will follow you. They look up to you being in this, and that you are that person. So to me, you know, you gotta have those people that can stand on and say, well, hey, let's go for change. You got to use your platform in a positive way. It's not always about you. You got how can you reflect, and look back at some situations. Like if I left Bemis today and I, am in a situation, I got to make sure Bemis is okay. If I leave, Phoenix today, I got to make sure that they still gonna find a way to make change. You always want to increase change in the positive. So it's definitely important for any person that got a platform to use their voice and I like I said again in my music, after I grasp you in on some kind of way, whether like I say to go up or any other song, you go listen to my project, you're gonna find another song somewhere on there talking about change to positivity or what's going on, the way we can evolve.
Definitely, and I see that you got all kinds of different songs of different types and everything. I know you've got another song that talks about money talk, and another one that I saw that was about sweet life, and there was a number of other ones that I saw as well that were on the YouTube website and all of that. So, tell folks a little bit about some of the songs that you really enjoy when you think about some of the things that you're all about.
Um, just depends. Like the Walk So Nasty song, because it was for me, it just got taken out of context in certain ways, with depending on who you are. But for me, it was for uh at the time, we degrade women a lot, in hip hop. Everybody, you look at the women even so to say, but my idea was women empowerment. So it was like, okay, if a woman can be a model, no matter what size, shape, color, big, small, short, tall, whatever, you can rip and run away yourself. So the Walk So Nasty was one of those ones I love doing because it gives a motivational situation. Anything where I can vibe to, for me to grasp people is always good. The money talk situation would just be telling folks, hey, I don't want to just let you talking. I'm not going to talk to you. I'm going to show you, because at the end of the day, my people know I like to show situation. I don't want to just tell you if I can't show it or back it up. So that's what pretty much what Money Talk was about. So a lot of the music that I do, it kind of has some type of meaning behind it. I promise, was another one, because my partner Morpheus came up with a hook in me, and it took me back home to Bad Austin. I went and recorded it in Bad Austin. I was with Morpheus and BT, and we had a blast doing it. But it had a message. We promising that we're not going back to that lifestyle where we come from. We promise we're gonna make it with this music. So we stood on that. So our promise was another one. So it just depends on the vibe. But my music, I just try to make sure I give everybody something that they can enjoy and feel, and an element to touch. Not everybody, because one song you're not gonna relate to, but I may have something else that you can.
Definitely, definitely some great songs. I saw that one of them didn't necessarily have the traditional video in the sense of being like the music video, but it just had the audio. But still, I think that they'll get a little taste of what I Promise is all about. So I'm gonna give them a little dose of that as well. So definitely, I thought that was a great one, and I like the way you were describing about the walk song and everything. So we'll probably give them a little taste of that as well. But right now, here's a little bit of I Promise, and hopefully, folks will enjoy this sound as well.
This morning, I had a talk with my mama. I told her, baby girl, I'm gonna put away that llama. Focus on my music and take over the summer. Me and you gonna be back to back in a matching pair of Hummers. Girl, I promise. Girl, I promise. No more going back to lock up. Me and you back to back. Baby, we gonna beat the block up. Girl, I promise. Girl, I promise. No more digging in the streets. We gonna grind it out the mud and guarantee you we gonna eat that. Girl, I promise. Eyes wide open, so focused on filling the deal. So I went back where it began, hooked up with Morpheus and the trio. Long way from trapping on the block, watching over my shoulder, ride legit with no work, no time for police to pull me over. I promise I'm gonna make it with this rapping. If it take my life, work real hard, grind all night with no sleep and pay the price. Sacrifice, turn a dream into reality. Hit the studio daily and they gon' see me on TV. I promise I'm gonna hang the keys to the house with the whip too. They already been seen, so I call it deja vu. Me and you together with no drama, that's all I need. With you by my side with faith and me, gon' make it guaranteed. This morning, I had a talk with my mama. I told her, baby girl, I'm gonna put away that llama. Focus on my music and take over the summer. Me and you gonna be back to back in a matching pair of Hummers. Girl, I promise. Girl, I promise. No more going back to lock up. Me and you back to back. Baby, we gon' beat the block up. Girl, I promise. Girl, I promise. No more jugging in the streets. We gon' grind it out the mud and guarantee you we gon' eat that. Girl, I promise.
I said that I was changing for the better. Baby girl was with me through the good and bad weather, so I put a plan together to take over the summer, doing numbers cause it's killing me. Lifting all this lumber, I promise, wear that lumber, shoot for the top like bird hunters. In the back of the Hummer, counting hundreds, make them wonder how we get it when we get it. It's that me, KP, and Morpheus, country boys from Bemis Road, finna go around the globe. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the flyest of the mall? Got that from Ant from New Jerusalem, off on the beat, that boy's a fool. I got persuade, so this what I do. I cannot lie, cause I am the truth. We taking the game and changing some things. I pray to the Lord, and this is the proof.
This morning, I had a talk with my mama. I told her, baby girl, I'm gonna put away that llama. Focus on my music and take over the summer. Me and you gonna be back to back in a matching pair of Hummers. Girl, I promise. Girl, I promise. No more going back to lock up. Me and you back to back. Baby, we gon' beat the block up. Girl, I promise. Girl, I promise. No more jugging in the streets. We gon' grind it out the mud and guarantee you we gon' eat that. Girl, I promise. Girl, I
Wow, some great lyrics there. Definitely some great sounds, and definitely was enjoying those vibes that you were definitely putting up there. And I think a lot of our fans were enjoying it as well. So definitely appreciate you sharing a lot of that knowledge and all of that. Matter of fact, we just heard from another person that I know watches a lot of times that's out of the West Coast, and they're into hip hop. So they were giving you some shouts as well. If I remember correctly, Just Gilded Cages is out of the Washington area and all of that. So I know they oftentimes watch what I'm doing and check my guests. So they were giving you a shout out as well. So definitely
appreciate it. Thank you.
appreciate that and everything. So definitely they were checking out what you were doing.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Like I said, we definitely, want to make sure we touch the masses and appreciate everybody that's, chime in.
Oh yeah, and folks are definitely chiming in and everything. Now that I think about it, I think Just Gilded Cages might be the young lady that was originally from the West Coast, but is now living here in this area and everything. If I'm thinking correctly and everything, but definitely they're always involved in the music community and all of that. So you definitely got some great songs that are going on a regular basis. Like I said earlier, I know that one of the things I always try to get my guests to do, and I know that you told me you give me about an hour, 15, an hour, and 20 minutes or so, and everything. So I do want you to have a chance to get back to do the other things that you've got to do for the rest of your day and everything. But I always try to give my guests a chance to give their words of encouragement, their words of positivity, because we are about positivity and unity and healing here on IBM TV and all of that. So I'd love to hear any words of encouragement that you want to give to our global audience, because we do have folks that are listening from as far away as Australia, South Africa, Europe, Malaysia, a number of other places as well. So any words, and of course, throughout the United States. So any words of encouragement that you want to share with folks, I'm sure that they would love to hear that and everything along that line. And then, of course, I'll probably give them a dose of the video of a Money Talk as well. But before you bounce and everything, I'm sure that folks would love to hear any words of encouragement that you want to give and everything.
Oh yeah, definitely, man. I just encourage folks to, in the trying time, just keep your head up. Just know that it's going to get better. I know we in a situation to where we losing a lot of lives, but we just got to make sure that after the storm, the sun gonna shine. We always, just got to keep your head up and try to maintain focus, take care of yourself, and don't lose focus and keep God first, and just like I say, believe that things are gonna get better. That's what I'm just proof. I'm proof of that. You know what I'm saying? So it's always going to have those darker days, but after those darker days, going to be some sunny ones. Sun will shine. We're going to get better, as we see. We changed over from certain situations as far as with the White House now. So, change is going to come, as they say a long time ago. Change is going to come. So we just got to make sure we ready for it and stay prepared and don't lose sight. Don't give up.
Yep, change is definitely going to come. Like you, that's one of my favorite Otis Redding
Oh
songs.
yeah,
Definitely a big fan of a change is going to come, and I definitely believe that that is very much true and everything along that line. Now, before you get on everything, one of the things that I've always been curious about, and I don't always ask all of my people about this, but I do feel like this one question that should be asked this time. But how important is faith to you, and to have like that connection to the higher power? Because definitely, I think that faith is important to a lot of our journeys and everything. So, in your own journey, how is important is faith to you in terms of the success that you are working on achieving?
very big. I mean, I rock with the Most High. Like I said, without having that higher power and God in your life, you can't do a whole lot. So no matter what you're trying, you gotta have that. And then faith is can be, like I said, a mustard seed. You know what I'm saying? And I stepped out a lot of times on it. You know what I'm saying? Like he would make a way, and I would believe that. My grandmother instilled it in me, my mom, my aunts, everybody pretty much that instilled that in me. Hey, if you leave and you got him with you, he said he'll take the first two steps if I take that third. So I'm just following into the footsteps and making sure that I don't fall off track. Believe in what I'm doing. And you can't have no doubt and no fear. If you When you say you got faith, you got to believe and it got to be strong and solid. So you can't have no doubt in your mind that it's going to happen. You can't have no fear or none of that. When you say you got faith, meaning that's what you believe. Like it's going to happen. It may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, but it's coming. So that's how I always apply it. Like I'm going to make sure I stand on what I say, and what I mean is I'm going to make sure I'm walking out of there, not by sight because I don't see it, but by faith and it's coming. So,
Yeah, that makes sense. And as you were saying that, I was thinking about one other thing that I meant to ask you before, so I'll get that real quickly. And everything is that we definitely had, and not just the pandemic, and you alluded to how that's impacted the art world, but we also had the Black Lives Matter movement, and a lot of folks have been talking about race unity and the fact that we need to have more unity, but also more respect for us as minorities and everything. So, how important is that to your music and to your life? The whole concept of us trying to be proud of our own legacy, but also trying to be a part of the greater humanity and all of that. So I think that that's part of what Black Lives Matter was all about. But I was just wondering some of your thoughts, because definitely Georgia had some of the incidences with police violence, and I know that there have been some out in the West Coast as well. But I just love to hear some of your thoughts about Black Lives Matter and also about unity as a force.
I'm all for any kind of unity. My thing is, and I haven't introduced to a lot of people, but they're going to get it first today. So you'll be the first. Planet Olap for me. I'm an Olapian, and this is something that I created. It has what we call topless streets, where there's no hate, no heat, no police harassment. Big up the booze and Absolute for having the vision for the topless streets. But to me, I just taking it like we're going to implement this on Olap, and on this planet, this is where you see it in your peace of mind of none of this. Everybody come together. We're strong. You can actually take you back to your heritage, and you can go see, like I say, kings and queens, and then you come over here where everybody's getting along, where there's no problems, no violence, no drug wars, none of that. So I believe that we can get to that point if we all, like I say, just try. What I'm saying? And to the, like we say, the movement was powerful. We seen the voices touch the masses. We seen that changes can happen if everybody can be like, hey, you're gonna have those few over there that want to drift away or whatever, but we seen not just black folks, but male, female, minorities, from whites, blacks, mixed, everybody kind of got in on the movement. So that goes to show that we can unify and be heard, and its power in numbers. You just got to make sure that you can reach the numbers, and that's where these platforms come in at, from ball players, musicians, politicians, everybody. You just got to be, using your platform and bring that together.
It's interesting you bring up the planet and everything, because my good friend Zach, who I mentioned earlier as well, that does funk music with Zach as well as Funk from the Front Seat, he often talks about the fact that he does not feel that he is actually from this planet, and that he feels that he's actually from someplace else as well, and that he is definitely a spirit of the light and all of that, but definitely does not feel that he is necessarily connected to humanity. And it sounds like you have a similar kind of viewpoint, that you don't necessarily believe that you are of this world necessarily. So definitely sounds like that's part of what your philosophy is that you have to be able to transport yourself to other parts of the universe where it's a much more universal kind of attitude. Is that correct in saying that about your views of the world and of the universe?
Yeah, definitely. That's why I say when you actually can relate to, just like you said, to your fellow musician that can do that. I mean, it's like Big Crit. He was one of the ones, Outcat, like there of a whole different world. It's just like you tap your mind takes you there. So you kind of have to put yourself in position to be able to do that, to reach and bring sure the other people can come in that atmosphere and bring others along. So I definitely think and relate that way.
Yep, definitely. I've heard that of a number of folks. I think he's even said that he's had some of those journeys with a number of times of even getting to those other planets and those other planes. And I definitely know that some of my native brothers and sisters have also said several things as well, that sometimes you feel that you got to get to those other planes other than the planes that we're used
Yep.
to here on Earth and all of that. So definitely, I think that that's something more people need to get in tune with, is also being connected. As one of the things that I try to do is being connected with all of nature, because I think that a lot of times we don't pay attention to what nature is telling us, whether that's what the animals are telling us, whether that's what the trees and the plants are telling us, and a lot of the things that are right there in our face communicating with us on a regular basis. And I'm also a big fan, as I was talking to one of my guests on one of my other shows, of paying attention to what the ancestors are talking to us about as well. Because I think a lot of times we do need to listen to our ancestors, because a lot of times they will communicate to us in our dreams and in just day-to-day thoughts and things along that line. So it does sound to me, Julie, that you are very much rooted in your connection to both Mother Earth as well as to the ancestors. So if you could share a little bit about your thoughts about needing to be connected to Mother Earth and the ancestors, I'd love to hear that from you as well.
Well, you definitely, if you don't pay attention, you're going to be lost. You know what I'm saying? So for me, some people say you don't have a third eye. I say you do. And your third eye can be used way beyond more than what you know if you sit back and let it go. And then your ears, I'm the type of person that like to listen and observe anyway. I mean, a lot of people can talk and I'll just sit back and be quiet and try to listen to what goes on. But again, like you say, that peace of mind to where it goes to a whole different place, a different plane, and your people will communicate with you. They can tell you certain things, and then you go out and be like, was I just? Sometimes people look at you like kind of funny when you say certain things, and they be like, "Where did you get this information from?" It didn't
Right.
come from me. It didn't come out of a book. It came from somebody else. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like a lot of the stuff that I speak on or I say about, a lot of people might be like, "Oh, where you get this information from? Or where you getting this information from? Where do you read that at?" It ain't always read. Sometimes it was told to me. And I can't tell you who told me because you're not going to understand. So
Right.
if you tap in sometimes, then just sit back, relax, and just go into a place where your mind can just go. It will happen. Nature will come. Your people and your ancestors will come to you. Like my grandmother actually passed, and she came to me. Told me certain things. So I'm a firm believer that sometimes if you just go to that place and be quiet in a quiet place, and you just let everything, all the problems go away, whatever you're going through, whatever, just focus, and it'll happen. You'll
Yep.
take
Yep, definitely agree with you on that. No doubt about that. So I was going to let folks hear a little bit of Money Talks as well. So then I'm going to bring that one up also, so the folks can check out a little bit of that as well. So definitely, I think folks will enjoy a little bit of the sound of Money Talks, which is another one of your numbers that folks will be interested in hearing as well. So I definitely think that folks will enjoy this number as well. So get ready to bring a little bit of Money Talk into the picture also. So as I get ready to grab that one, and then we'll get ready to check this out as we get ready to go. And there it goes. We hope it goes.
it.
Yep. Hey, what's up, brother?
Big Al, I think it's time we need to actually have a talk.
About the office. It's called business.
Say no more. It's very, very important that we discuss some business.
All right, brother. Time is money.
They say actions speak louder than words. Well, I'm about that action. Cause my conversation filled with Benjamins, Grass and Jackson. See a pretty young thing, boy, and you trying to bag it. They ain't trying to speak without no money, cause they gotta have it. First thing them boys wanna know is where them dollars at. Speak to them with them faces, best believe they'll holler back. Wherever them balls go, man, they trying to follow that. Break a bar off with some bank, bet they'll call you back. Everybody know it ain't something. Man, we gonna need all that for you tonight, man. We're gonna just need you to get it. We're gonna get the deal done and get it all taken care of. Hey, look, let me do all the talking. You just be quiet. I got you. All right, man. We can smoke him and just hey, man, just calm down, man. I got this. Let me do talking. Hey, boy.
Talk slow and go to me with no moolah, homie, then you gotta go. I ain't sorry, she never stuck up, but money talk, yo. When I'm out in the street, don't speak, just let that money talk. When I'm hollering out a bar, boy, I let that money talk. When I'm on the line, no negotiation, just money talk. Let's believe that money talk, and I'ma let that money talk. When I'm out in the street, don't speak, just let that money talk. When I'm hollering out a bar, boy, I let that money talk. When I'm on the line, no negotiation, just money talk. Let's believe that money talking. I'ma let that money talk. Everybody say the more money that brings more problems, but the more money you got, the better chance that you can solve. Give you out all kind of jams, sticky situations, even help you out when you fight trying to beat them cases. Tell me with no money, how you supposed to go and think it for? Have you looking crazy and you started cause a nigga broke? Have you feeling stupid while you sitting there looking dumb? Cause you girl and left it cause you told the money make a call. If you ain't got no money, homie, you can't tell me no. Everybody in this world, man, yeah, they want some. Every man dream of having nice things. If you ain't got no money, then it's all pipe dreams. Say money, 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 something that you gotta get. You ain't got it, what? Bet I bet you feel it sick. Better find a way to get some paper or get a lick. Make that money talk while you out there getting rich. When I'm out in the street, don't speak out, let that money talk. When I'm hollering out a bar, boy, I let that money talk. When I'm on the line of negotiating, just money talk. Let's believe that money talk, and I'ma let that money talk. When I'm out on the street, don't speak, just let that money talk. When I'm hollering out a bar, boy, I let that money talk. When I'm on the line of negotiating, just money talk. Let's believe that money talk, and I'ma let that money talk.
Money Talks, and definitely that was a powerful cut and everything. So definitely appreciate you being here with me for the last almost hour and a half and everything. So I'll put up one of your other numbers, but and then I've got a for the last hour got a interview that I did pre-recorded with a musician out of Hawaii. Son DeOne is his name and everything. So he was actually available for an interview yesterday. So it's pre-recorded that part. But any final thoughts that you want to share before I bring on that pre-recorded part of the interview and wrap up everything? So any final words of wisdom that you would like to share with our audience here on IBM TV?
First, definitely want to say appreciate you for having me. Thanks, Mark, for the opportunity of being here on IBM TV. And then again, for anyone out there that's trying to do anything, whether it's music, any kind of career, you just stay focused and, like I say, be humble. Don't overlet your hunger over your humbleness. Just be patient. When your time comes, it's going to be there. Like I say, just stay focused. Don't give up. All of right now in this tragic situation we in the pandemic, just keep our head up, know that we're going to make it through. So the time is coming, and like I say, the change is going to come. We just gotta be ready.
Well, I definitely appreciate that. Some great words of wisdom that you're sharing with our audience. And I definitely know that a number of folks will be able to relate to what you've been saying, and they'll definitely hear the messages that you've been sharing and all of that. Just really quickly, what message would you give to folks that are trying to become stars themselves and everything? So that those that have been listening to you and are thinking that they might want to get into the music business, what kinds of words of advice would you give them as well? Those that are thinking that they want to get involved in this whole entertainment game, whether that's music, whether that's movies, whether that's even being an author as you are as well.
Be a student first. You study. Be a student of the game before you, try to do it. Make sure you take it serious. And always the star only shines as bright as you allow it to shine. So there's a million stars, but the sun is the biggest. So again, you make yourself that big star by actually studying and growth, and not scared to advance and think outside the box. Don't let nobody limit you and put you inside of a box. And when you don't get discouraged when somebody's saying you can't do something. So my thing is, like I say, in this business, remember it's 90% business, 10% talent. Just focus, grind. Just don't be afraid to invest in yourself and be who you are, true to yourself. It'll happen.
Yeah, definitely you got to be true to yourself. And a lot of folks times are not true to themselves, and they don't have that true to themselves kind of nature. And you're right that that's one of the downfalls that happens is too often folks are not true to themselves in the ways that they should be. So I'm going to let them hear a little bit of as you're walking out the door. And before I get to Sun to One, we're going to let them hear a little bit of Walk So Nasty and Go Up as well. So I think that's the way that we'll have you walk out the door, since that's definitely one of your keynote numbers. And you definitely said it is, folks have maybe misunderstood what the song was about, because you were actually seeing it more as a women's empowerment kind of track, and not necessarily in the ways that some people may have taken it and all of that. And we do know that sometimes people can misunderstand what folks' missions and thoughts may be when they get their songs going and up and running. So we're going to let them check this number out, which is entitled Walk So Nasty, Go Up.
That girl gotta walk so nasty. That girl gotta walk so nasty. Man, I get crazy when she walk right past me. That girl gotta walk so nasty. That girl gotta walk so nasty. That girl gotta walk so nasty. Man, I get crazy when she walk right past me. Stand so mean, girl so classy. Man, that girl gotta walk so nasty. When she step out, all the cameras start flashing. Girl turns heads whenever she walk past them. Real nice bounce with a twist in the hip. Walk so serious like that boy named Tip. Like Kelly Rowland, she with the runway. Yes, she's a diva like that girl named Beyonce. She don't step, man, this girl strut. Walk with confidence, cause you know that she tough. Nice built frame, pretty cute butt. Just like that truck, she's built for a tough ayy. In flats or heels, see this girl walk and say she got skills. She give you a thrill, cause she's so jazzy. Cause man, that girl gotta walk so nasty. 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 Man, I get crazy when she walk right past me. That girl gotta walk so nasty. That girl gotta walk so nasty. That girl gotta walk so nasty. Man, I get crazy when she walk right past me. Girl, that's a lie that I ain't gon' tell you. Looking at the switch just put me in a trance. You can just walk, you ain't even gotta dance. Love it when she leaves, like it when she come. This girl gotta walk to make the boys go dumb. If you sit down, it'll make you stand up. When she walk by, you'll throw my hands up. When this girl walk, you'll put them bands up. And she the type of girl to make the boys hand come. This girl bad, this girl stuck, man. I can't stop walking till I get enough. Walk so tough, even girls look at it. Cause man, that girl gotta walk so nasty. Walk so tough, everybody look at it. Cause man, that girl gotta walk so nasty. 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 Man, I get crazy when she walk right past me. That girl gotta walk so nasty. That walk so nasty. Man, I get crazy when she walk right past me. That girl gotta walk so nasty. That girl gotta walk so nasty. That girl gotta walk so nasty. Man, I get crazy when she walk right past me. Step it out, girl, and strut. Show everybody, let them know that you tough. Ayy, step it out, girl, and strut. Show everybody, let them know that you tough. Ayy, step it out, girl, and strut. Show everybody, let them know that you tough. Ayy, step it out, girl, and strut. Show everybody, let them know that you tough. Ayy.
It's a kid country pimpin' on talking about. And they in the club, we all finna go up. Dooley KP. Hey. I say roll up, pull up. Everybody get toe up. In the club, we all gon' go up. If they hate for to get no love, I say roll up, pull up. Everybody get toe up. In the club, we all gon' go up. If they hate for to get no love, I say roll up, pull up. Everybody get toe up. In the club, we all gon' go up. If they hate for to get no love, I say roll up, pull up. Everybody get toe up. In the club, we all gon' go up. If they hate for to get no love, get booked, get wild. Not everybody get high. No need to push and show up, cause we all get inside. Ask your partner where that draw at. Tell them go and roll that. Tell them pull up ass so everybody can roll that. Man, club be so packed, tell the bartender don't pour that. Now everybody here messed up and you already know that. All my dogs be wasted, big booze we chasing, and all my dogs blow money cause got pockets full of big faces. I say roll up, pull up, everybody get toe up. In the club we all gon' roll up. If they hate for to get no love, I say roll up, pull up, everybody get toe up. In the club we all gon' roll up. If they hate for to get no love.
Dooley, definitely that was that number, and I think folks got a great taste of what you're all about. You're going to bring up that interview that I did with Son to One from yesterday and all of that. So before you get out, if you want to share a little bit about how folks can reach you, if they've got maybe they want to join the label, or maybe they just want to reach out to you to talk about what they've heard and to learn more about you, or maybe they've got gigs for you. So if you want to give folks methods and the social media that they can reach you before get ready to bring up Sunday One and let you get on out of here, then I'm sure this is the time to do that. So definitely let folks know how they can reach you, and whether it's social media or whether it's email or any other means of communications that you want to share.
Definitely, definitely. Social media, all platforms. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. So Facebook and Instagram are both at Dooley KP. Twitter would be at the real Dooley KP. The website is dooleykp.com. There you definitely go keep updates and past the shows and anything else of that nature. The email, just dooleykp at Yahoo. So any way you can reach out is always I'm always there. So as far as music, you can find it on all digital platforms, Spotify, iTunes, definitely YouTube. So anywhere you want to find the music, there's those outlets. So whatever device you choose to find it on, but that's where you can find Dooley KP and also Countryside music.
Sounds great. Definitely appreciate you joining me on Mullets Music and Memories. I'm glad that you were able to give some insight. Like I tell all my guests, hope to get you back on in the near future, because definitely would like to have guests when they make return trips and all of that. But I think folks learned a lot about you. And I know that we've even got some other musical shows, like my friend Alexandria May, who is a pop star out of South Africa. She does the Alexandria May's Music Cafe. And she, even though is originally from South Africa, she's also spent some time in Nashville. So she's got a number of musical contacts, and there are some other musical shows. Like I said, my friend Zach's got his funk music show, and there are some other music shows that I might be trying to introduce you to as well. So definitely we might be trying to get you on a couple of the platforms here on IBM TV, but was glad to get you on this time, and hopefully have you come back in the very near future.
Definitely, definitely. Just let me know, and I'm always willing to be there. And like I say, hey, thanks for having us, and we appreciate it, the platform. And again, anybody else that want us on the show, we just reach out. We do it.
Sounds good. So that note, we're going to let Dooley get on out of here, and I'm going to bring up the rest of the interview that I did with Son to One and all of that, so y'all can share a little bit about what he was all about. And like I said, we had the pleasure of doing that yesterday, so you might hear some references to Sunday as opposed to Monday, because it was a pre-recorded interview because of schedule things that he had going on and all of that. But we're going to continue with some more great conversation. So let's hear what Son to One had to say in his interview with me earlier as well. So I do think that y'all are in for some great conversation. Waiting for Son to One to join us here at IBMTV.tv. And we're going to have a conversation with him about hip hop music and what that's all about, and how he's doing that in Hawaii, and many more things around that kind of situation with the music and all of that. Of course, we'll also probably be talking about what's going on in the world. We do know a number of folks are concerned about what's happening in terms of the inauguration coming our way on Wednesday. And of course, definitely there is already talk of protests in many states. I don't even know if Hawaii is one of the states that will be having those protests or not, but I'm interested to hear what Son to One has to say about that. And then, of course, there are a number of other things that folks are concerned about, just basically like day-to-day survival and all of that, as we're trying to figure out how to survive with our economy and with everything that is going on in the world in that regard. So definitely should be some fascinating conversations coming your way very shortly. Like I said, I am waiting for Son to One to be joining us in a little bit. I will be giving you a taste of his music. As a matter of fact, I think that I'll give you a little taste of what he's all about shortly, but I'll also want you to know about some of the program that exists right here on IBM TV as well. So IBMTV.tv. And of course, there's some great programming that exists here on a regular basis. Things like Chess Stars, and of course, things like investing, which Sasha also does, and then amazing things like Talking Upstream and all of that. So right now, we're going to give you a little dose of Chess Stars and what they're all about. And then, like I said, I'll be waiting for Sun to One to join us here and have a conversation with him about his music and all of that. Right now, let's check out what this is all about. One of the shows that airs right here on IBMTV.tv. And while we're waiting for Sun to One, let me give y'all just a little taste of what his music is all about. So we're going to put on one of his clips and everything and let y'all hear a little bit of what his music sounds like. And I think that you'll be quite impressed with some of the sounds that he has put together and all of that. So we're going to give you a little dose of his music as we're going to hear a one of his songs. As a matter of fact, we may get another one on as well. But let's just check out a little bit of his music right now.
Yeah. Yo, let there be bad karma given to all fibbing rap villains. This here I and I plasma scriptures catechism. Deprogramming ill vision, pill popping ism, schism, intuition, pasta thism. Frontin' like you King Tut, conniving sluts, plus piddling children, petty crap fiction. Shit, who you been with? Purse snatching, mighty clown snitches. These the days of worshiping warlocks and witches. Evil principalities casted upon father figures, liquor and meth. Collapses open each and every village through mothers like a touch of feeling. I grew reminiscing when I used to have to ask the player, turn on the television. Son of One takes it back like in television. Poetic poltergeist and habits making composition. Writing beyond all margins, this shit I wrote be more potent than from movie and coke. What?
There can be a better, there can be a better, there can be a better way to live this day today.
stress got a grip on me now. I know my family holding it down. I don't know when I will see him, but yo, I'm still believing in visitation, no reason, no. Don't wanna wait till next season. Hosted from the highest elevation I've been dreaming of. Golden horizons, life's a mountain of decisions, so I keep climbing. Sitting in a 747, just rhyming, recounting my blessings with a message, keep smiling. Keep grinding, searching for salvation. Know that when we blow, they gon' play us on every station. Like there can be, there can be a better. There can be, there can be a better. There can be, there can be a better way to live this day today.
Yo, J.A. smash star movements, lock up the prophets, microchip the clueless, unsuitable, food for thought, brewing, viruses, sex, drugs, rock and roll violence, genocidal holocaust in the sea silence, demon camps under construction like beehives, cross-pollinate, vaccinate, mind state, think twice, you lifeless, feeling untouchable on the lifeless, build up a plot underground, power optics, power looks for witness, Thunder one, lyrical eclipse, deprogramming your promise, mindless, mindless, photosynthesis rhymes, hate-matic paragraphs, prevail through dogmatic arts and crafts, children out the darkness, blast first, ask questions last, those leaders who speak of peace know nothing of the past, don't want to change the world, just want to be left alone to seek universal oneness, divine intervention.
Divine intervention. Ooh. Remember, there can be, there can be a better. There can be, there can be a better. There can be, there can be a better way to live this day today.
And like I was saying, there's all kinds of great shows that exist here on the network. So let's check out what Podcasters Thursdays is all about as well. All right. Well, I see that Sunder One has finally joined us and everything. So glad that we've got that going on. How's everything going? I was actually playing one of your tracks earlier that Eris had sent me and all of that. So I didn't even know there was a hip hop scene in Hawaii and all of that. So glad to know that you're able to join us and all of that, and would love to learn more about your music and what you've got going on in your world. So, like I said, I'm glad you were able to join us today. I know that you weren't able to join us during the regular scheduled time of the show. So Eris had asked me whether we could do a pre-recorded thing, and I was definitely glad to accommodate y'all in that respect and everything. So just wanted to say hello and say hello to you, and hope that you're doing well and that your family's doing well as well.
Absolutely, Mark. Thank you for having me. Happy Sunday.
Yes.
Thank you for providing this platform. Thank you for your time and energy and everything you do for the community and all the artists that you have on here, the intellects. It's an honor, and I really appreciate you. Thank you very much. Aloha, coming from the island of Kauai.
All right, sounds great. And like I was saying, I didn't even know that there was an active Hawaiian hip hop scene, but it seems to me that in talking to Eris, that in your part of the world, you've actually helped create this scene and everything. So talk a little bit about how the music has been going, and also how the you've been impacted by a number of things that are going on in society. So I know we'll delve into a little bit of Black Lives Matter, as well as maybe even how COVID is impacting you. But just to start off, tell folks a little bit about your own musical background and what got you into the hip hop world.
Well, I go by the name of Sun the One. Early on in the early 2000s, I was part of a collective called the Highlanders. And the Highlanders was a live band consisting of drums, keyboardists, guitar, bass, and 4 MCs. And you can compare it to Sly and the Family Stone meets Rage Against the Machine meets Black Eyed Peas. So it was a live
original hip hop that we did. Um, Early on, I was a part of putting on functions as far as open mics, as well as being a part of the spoken word community too, as well. And we just opened a lot of avenues for those who were interested in that type of media, and just allowed people to express themselves in an alternative way, um, other than reggae, because reggae, in the islands, is pretty much the predominant music that comes out of here. And you're mentioning that you never knew that hip hop scene existed out here, but there was all types of different musics on. There's 8 different islands in the state of Hawaii.
Right.
So early on, you could get taste of folk music to country type of music to funk music in the early 70s and the 60s. So it's well vast, and there's a lot of different demographics in the state of Hawaii that people don't know, and I think it's still trying to make its voice into the mainstream and just in media in general.
Gotcha. What were some of the things that got you into the spoken word community? I've actually got some good friends here in North Carolina that are part of our local spoken word community, and they actually do a lot of the national and international competition. So, what was it that actually got you into spoken word and led you into that whole spoken word community?
I seen a movie with Saul Williams,
Okay.
and my memory is I'm not really good with the names of movies. Um, it was a slam movie though, and I seen him speak, and it moved me. And I was a hip hop head, so I never seen anything like it. And somebody expressing themselves that way, it blew my brains to bits when I seen somebody perform, or that particular artist, Sal Williams, perform spoken word. And from then on, I just decided to try to get my own style from it and try to write in that format. And it really it really blew me away. So from there, I just started writing on my own, and I started entering poetry competitions, and I got into one of the finalists as a national poetry in a national poetry competition, which Hawaii is one of the biggest platforms for spoken word poetry. Shouts out to Kealoha. So from there, I went to different places like the Bay Area and did open mics and poetry competitions, and even going to Chicago with the legendary Green Mill, where all the famous jazz musicians and Jack Kerouacs and all the beatniks from the old days used to go, and I ended up winning first place in one of their big poetry competitions as well, which was amazing to me. I just went in there with an open mind, not even, I just wanted to speak, so spoken word put me in a position where I can express myself in any which way that I wanted to. It allowed me to say things that I would normally not even say in a conversation, and it just helped me kind of expand my mind and help me as an artist mature, not only within my writings, but in how I thought and viewed the world.
Yeah.
And one more thing, one thing that blew me away was the first slam poets never wanted to change the world. They never wanted to be revolutionary, like revolutionaries. They just wanted to be left alone. It was in the jazz era where they were just experimenting with psychedelics and drugs and free love and all that type of stuff, and they just wanted a way to just uh, express themselves in a free way. That was never their intent to change the world. They just wanted to be left alone, and I thought that was a powerful thing, and I could relate to it, and that's my
Oh, yeah.
approach to it today.
Definitely. Who is do you say were some of the folks that you really admired in terms of your own musical journey, either in hip hop and in spoken word, but some of the folks that you have seen as kind of the folks that you admire and that you try to emulate in your own style?
Well, of course, Sal Williams. There's a gentleman, Buddy Wakefield. He's amazing. As far as hip hop, I study the greats, Rakim, people like Nas, True Poets, Black Thought from the Roots, of course, Common. Those people really intrigue me, and who and then rest in peace, MF Doom. And he was. These are all people that chose to go outside of the box and go and take that step and say things that they you know a lot of other people wouldn't say. As far as I like Muhammad Ali, and he put himself out there and went against the machine. Of course, people like Tupac too, not necessarily all his music, but what he stood for and his connection with his through his lineage too as well. I've studied that, and I just admire all those people.
Yeah, that's a lot of great folks to be admired and everything, and you've definitely got some great role models in that sense and everything. How would you describe your own music style? I know that when I've talked to Eris and I've also had other folks listen to it, they thought it had like a lot of different influences. But I was wondering, how would you describe your music if you were to describe it for your own self?
Well, it's unorthodox. It's uncut. Um, it stands alone. Um, as far as I try to touch on a lot of my history, where I come from. I due to my upbringing too as well. I touch on a lot of political things, just my views on facing racial discrimination to forms of abuse, to overcoming and persevering through through different obstacles, whether it's socially or it had to do with my family or just things that I've seen. And I try to set myself apart when it comes to my literature. They say the best writers are the ones that are the most truthful. So I try to follow that template. And the funniest comedians are the ones that you can relate to. So I try to do the same thing, you know,
Yeah,
and
that
and
makes a
then
lot
be.
of sense. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You got to have that true nature to what you're all about and everything along that line. One of the things that you had talked about was the political nature of some of your songs, and we've definitely been going through some tumultuous political times. So I was just wondering what your thoughts were as we're trying to change the administrations, and what your thoughts were about the last 4 years under that person that's currently leaving 1600, if he hasn't already left, since there's reports that he may not even be over there anymore.
I think as a whole, really we really got to be keen on where we're getting our information from, because there's so much information out in the world right now that you don't know what's false or true. And I think it's just really important to have that understanding. And I wish everybody just took it to the basics and just followed the money. You know what I mean? If we follow the money, then we'll have a true understanding of what's really going on and who really controls what. And we could be more attentive on where we put our money and who we support. And I was having this conversation the other day, and I think as elders and even as a whole, that we have to be very aware of who we're letting in these days. I think this is a prime example of like, if we like it or not, we all let this happen. So we shouldn't be surprised what's going on. And we really have to, at the end of the day, and I think through this COVID, is we really got to realize what the heck is important to us at the end of the day,
Yeah.
and I think we're all realizing that. And so I think people are waking up and getting keen to what's happening here. So it's this has been going on forever. It's just under and I'm talking about what's going on is with the social injustice,
Right.
is with just the corruption in politics. I think it's only going under a microscope now, and it's a great thing. And I feel like we're going through a vortex right now where before we see the light, it's going to get dark, and it's been dark. And I have hope and I have faith, and it's a big reason that I do what I do, because if I could have any kind of influence on, just uplifting somebody and supporting somebody, and or even making somebody happy at the end of the day through my art, through my music, through my energy, um, that's everything. And before the fame, before the money, before any of that, I just want to put in good, positive energy into the world. Sometimes my music's harsh because this world's harsh. Sometimes I use language uh, that I'd rather not use, but sometimes that's it's a way to express myself, and it's a way for me to vent too as well. Um, I don't really like to go too deep into uh, the goings on of my political views, uh, but I think it's just important to know that I feel that it's just important to lift each other up, cross promote each other, and we start at the community base, and that's an important thing. And I think that's why I relocated back to Hawaii, because we have that sense of community here, and that's an important thing. And I think it just starts from the core of your community, and then we could change the world.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. We definitely have to start on that local level, like you said, and then try to change the world from the local side out. I know that a lot of folks, there's heightened attention on DC. There's definitely cross points and things of that nature. There's even talk of things here in North Carolina and other places around the country. I've heard all 50 states are on alert and everything, but are y'all getting that sense in Hawaii? Because Hawaii and Alaska are the furthest points of the country and everything, or is there things more mild in the sense of like being on alert as we're making this change in the administration?
Absolutely. It's you have signs of this everywhere though. So before the elections, there's heavy Trump supporters here as well. And I'm riding through town and I see a Confederate flag waving out here. And I'm
Right.
with my daughter and I'm like, how do I explain this to her? You know, it's blatant. And they came out of the woodworks, brother. You know what I
Right.
mean? And it's blatant now. And it's there is no hiding, and it's been in our face. We knew about it, and it's a very scary thing. Social media. It's a very scary thing on how easily people are swayed. But at the end of the day, there has to be a breakthrough of communication. Um, it's there's so many things to touch on about it,
Right.
and we're living in a movie. I trip out all the time seeing it on the news and whatnot, but it
Yeah, it
doesn't
does seem
surprise. It doesn't surprise
right. It does
me.
seem
Just
like we're living in a movie and everything of that nature. You said that you had moved back to Hawaii and you've, of course, been in other parts of the country as well. What is it about Hawaii that draws you back home? And what is it that you think many people don't know about Hawaii? Like a lot of folks, when they think of Hawaii, they think of definitely the ocean. They think of definitely some of the things like the Samoans and some of the cultures that exist there, but they oftentimes don't think of everything else that Hawaii has to offer. So share a little bit about what it is about your home state that you really love.
thy neighbor. It's an important thing. Knowing thy neighbor. Going to the store and running into somebody and say, "Hey, how you doing? How's everything? How's your mom? How's your dad? Everybody good? You okay?" I miss that. I miss that
Right.
growing up in the Bay Area. And I think I think that's anybody that's from, excuse me, anybody that's from a small town can relate to that. So it's just knowing that you have that sense of community, that whole mindset of it takes a village to raise a child. I miss that. I miss that when I was living in California. California was just, it didn't feel that the energy wasn't right, and I kind of felt this kind of boiling pressure out there especially when I went into the cities. So I just miss the fact of that family oriented place. It brought me back here. I came here when I was in my early teens, and this place saved my life. And it's a beautiful place. There's beautiful energy. There's a lot of stigma that goes to it, meaning that People say that they're angry here, or they have, or they have just a lot of hate for tourism and stuff like that, or white people. But you got to remember that I'm coming from a place of that that got taken away, like their rights and their the way of living and their culture had got stripped away, literally. So you're dealing with people, indigenous people, that are angry when you're coming. I mean, I'm talking about like the kids or even young adults. They're angry for a reason and they don't even know why they're angry. But the truth is you're dealing with people that had something taken away from them. You're dealing with the people that, there's a lot of rich people that come out here and they buy a property and it raises the property tax, so that causes gentrification, and within that it's very expensive to live too as well. And these are people that had generations of families here, and to this day they're struggling to live, and then you got to go work at a hotel and cater to these people. So it's just like, when people come out here, they don't realize that. They're like, we're in Hawaii, serve me, but it's where we became an island of slaves and servants, you know. But I'm just touching on where I come from, but it's a beautiful place. I don't think, they call it the mana. The mana is the power. So it will never be broken. It will never be broken. And we have a strong community out here, and I think, and that's why the COVID situation, we have it as a whole. Like we have pretty good control over it, because we're very aware, and we don't want to affect grandma, grandpa, your niece and nephew, and so everybody's masked up and you know trying to be responsible out here for a reason, because we're all related. You know what I mean? It's like, you don't want to be that guy.
You don't really want to be that guy that got your grandma, your great aunt, or somebody like that sick or anything of that nature. I can definitely relate to that. I remember one of the movies I saw a long time ago was actually about the impact of the surfing community, and it actually touched on Hawaii, but it talked about the fact that there used to be a very active minority surfing community that a lot of times folks don't even reflect on and things of that nature. So growing up there, did you see a lot of your brothers and sisters that were actually getting in to surfing at all? Because I do know that that's something that, like you said, Hawaii is known for, and I know that there was a movie made several years back about the
Absolutely.
impact of black surfers.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely. Some of the best, there's a legendary surfer, Buttons, and just in general, we have mixed races from from a long, long time ago, and it's this is a melting pot out here, and open arms to all cultures. Actually, this is the first place I came to where white people were the minority. And they even had a day where, and this is really negative, but they had Kill Howley Day, where they would just beat up a random white person for no reason, and that's super negative. But it was the first place where I experienced that, where I came from California, and I was the minority, but still I was a minority too as well, because I was coming from California. So when I
Right.
opened up my mouth, I spoke differently. I dressed different. But some of my best friends were African American surfers, killing it on the North Shore. And as far as the high school I went to, um, it produced some of the most legendary surfers in history in the world. Rest in peace to Andy Irons. There's Dustin Barca. There's numerous other pro surfers that were within the national circuit of surfing, pro surfing, that came out of my school. I want to say over 20 of them, even female surfers too as well. So they embrace females as well surfing here too as well. Bethany Hamilton is the surfer that unfortunately got her arm bit off, and won many world championships after that. She came back from being her arm being bit off by a shark, and then became a phenomenon after that. Taught herself how to surf, and is just a legend. you know. And I love all my surf friends in the community. Definitely,
It
yes.
sounds like a real good surfing community there and everything. You had actually mentioned a couple times about your high school and going to high school and how you were having some troubles at that time and everything. Can you share with us a little bit with our audience about what that was like and how the school and the music helped save you from whatever troubles you might have been getting into?
Oh, one more time, brother. Can you come again?
Yeah, I was just saying you were talking about the importance of the high school when you came back home and everything. So I would love to hear you talk a little bit about how important it was that education and you getting back on the right track. Because it sounds like at one point you were feeling like you were going off on the wrong track, but you were trying to come back on the right track when you came back to Hawaii in your education system.
Oh, absolutely. Well, school out in Hawaii. Um, excuse me, brother. My daughter. We're all quarantined up right now, but yeah, absolutely. Kapa High School was a great high school, and my mom brought us out from the Bay Area um, due to I was getting in a lot of fights. We moved we moved from San Leandro, which bordered Oakland, and I got in a lot of fights over there. I would just get jumped walking home from school, and I deal with a lot of like racial discrimination when we moved to Castro Valley, which was a predominantly Caucasian community, and so I would get jumped a lot. I would get jumped a lot by like skinheads and whatnot, and I would fight every day. So my mom decided to move us to Hawaii and get us out of that situation. I get to Hawaii, and it basically changed my life. But still, I had to deal with being outcasted because I didn't grow up like a lot of the local kids. I didn't talk what they call pidgin, which is the equivalent of patois to Jamaica. It's a broken English. So I spoke very good English. I had a twang because I grew up in the Bay Area too. And but her making that decision coming to Hawaii saved my life. It truly saved my life because it got me an opportunity to really not have to look over my back, and just feel nature and be connected to my culture. Absolutely, and that's an important thing for any child. I was super fortunate to have that understanding and get connected to where I came from and find out the history of where my people came from, and really experience the essence of the beauty here, why people live here.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I know that one of the things that you started doing is you've always been working for a number of years with juvenile youth and trying to get them out of the jail system as well as educate them about hip hop and everything along those lines. So I'd love to hear you talk a little bit about your work with the youth and what you're trying to do in those regards as well. 'Cause I know that definitely you've done some work in that field.
I love the kids. I love the kids. Like I said, when I'm talking about my music and uplifting, if I could just touch one of these kids, that's all that matters, So we go into the schools, or the juvenile hall detentions. We go in there and we just try to uplift the kids, tell them that they're not alone. And there's many times when I was younger and all I really needed is a hug. As basic as that. I just need somebody to tell me that I was special, that I had self-worth, that I wasn't alone. And that's basically what I'm trying to give them. And just and I just keep it real with them, and you know, um, I just try to give them another option or opportunity to express themselves. Give them another outlet. It's important because without hip hop, without music, without sports, I wouldn't have an outlet. I would have been an angrier person, at that time. I would have been, probably in a gang or something. And that's all. That's all we need. Um, Having just that special person, as far as an adult or elder or somebody you look up just to just take you under their wing, and really just show them a different avenue. And that's all it takes. It's a little bit of effort.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. A good friend of mine does a show. He does it actually on Sundays, named Zach Robertson. It's all about funk music, and he's definitely a big funk music head. But he's going to do a special very soon about black on black crime. And he's always encouraging people to like actually raise up their pants and things of that nature, because we do sometimes see that negative aspect of the hip hop culture. So I was wondering, are y'all seeing that in Hawaii as well? And I know you saw it in California. And how are some of the ways that you are trying to fight those negative stereotypes that exist within hip hop?
I'm very aware of it. I'm very aware of it, and it's important that I'm here. Because I want to be that nucleus. Um, I don't agree with a lot of things that certain artists are doing. I don't agree with the message that they're doing, and or projecting. Um, I can't even hate on them. What I could do is be an example for them, and maybe if I seen them in person, I would bring them to the side and be like, hey, what's up with this? You know what I mean? There's like, what is the purpose for this? Which is bringing up, I'm seeing Asian rappers and white rappers using the N word.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't get it. It's something that I want to speak on more, and maybe I'll touch on it in the song, because I don't think they really understand the impact of that word. I think they're just using it as like something to fit in and be cool. When you experience that word being used against you, then you would have a better understanding of the impact of that particular word. Um, and I'm having a problem with hearing that lately. Um, I don't agree with it, and I think it's important as elders to check these guys, as well as be an example, and that's why I touch on the things that I do through my music, and hopefully I can create a balance.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You gotta have that balance and all of that nature and everything. Now, this weekend that we're in and everything has been all around MLK and the celebration of Martin Luther King's life and all of that. I was wondering your own reflections on that legendary person and just some of your thoughts, as we are definitely in the middle of MLK weekend, and definitely Monday is MLK Day. So I just wanted your reflections on that legendary civil rights leader.
I just so much appreciation for this man and the people that stood behind him. And um, sometimes I cry because I look at what's going on and it's still going on, and I'm so tired. Along with a lot of other people, I'm so tired of we've been fighting this fight for so long, and without him, um, there's the impact, and that's and we have to reflect on back on these kids. This is all the work that he's put forth, and along with all these other people that he influenced. um we don't ever want to go backwards. But I just, I just want to there's so much love and appreciation, and God bless his family, and God bless his memory and his soul. It's just have the utmost respect for all the forefathers and people that paved the way for equal rights and equality. And it's been a long fight. And I look back at all those old videos and stuff, and I'm like, wow, it's so identical what's going on now. And it's just like I just my heart it hurts, man, because it's like how long we got to keep fighting. How long we got to keep fighting. But I think as a whole, we could do this together, you know. And having a child now, it makes me realize that more than ever, you know.
Oh yeah. Definitely having
They,
that child. Like I said, I don't have any. I've got two nephews, but I do know the importance of the children and the legacy that we're trying to leave them. And I agree with you that Dr. King was putting up some issues that we're still fighting. Some, well, the I Have a Dream speech was in 1963, so we're talking almost 58 years ago, and a lot of those things that he was talking about are still relevant to today, and then we should be a lot further along than we actually are. So I would agree with you on that, that we need to be much further along than we actually
yeah,
are in terms of where he would like us to be in the fight and the struggle. And definitely, I think we should be much further along. And I agree with you on that wholeheartedly. One of the other
He
things I
was
was just curious about. Go ahead.
he was such a prolific speaker, a prolific being. His presence, um, he held himself as a king. And I wish who'd have known if Malcolm X and him, were they're on that point. They're on that point to come together. And it's just saddening. You know what I mean? It's who'd have known what would have happened? Who'd have known?
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
because they were trying to come together.
Yeah, I
It's a
agree. They
heavy.
were definitely trying to come together. Speaking of coming together, one of the things that I've seen, and you talked about the Asian music community, but there has been a rise in Asian music as well, not just in hip hop, but I've also got a friend that lives nearby here that's very much into the K-pop scene. And I was just wondering your thoughts about Asian hip hop and Asian pop music and all of that, because it does seem to be on the rise these days. So I was wondering your thoughts about that community as well.
I don't understand it, bro. I don't understand it. I'm sorry. Like I don't want to be a hater. My favorite group is Earth, Wind, and Fire. You
Right.
know, I grew up on just really good music when it comes to like the Motown to like Stevie Wonder. So it's just
Mhm.
like I enjoy vocalists and I just enjoy. I was listening to jazz this morning, so I try to understand it. I try to understand it. I really I don't have much to say about it. It
Right.
blows my mind when I watch it because how many people are into it, and it just
Right.
came out of nowhere, and I'm flabbergasted at it, man. I don't know
Yeah.
what to say about it. It's just like wow,
Yeah.
wow.
I agree. It did seem to come out of nowhere, and it caught me off guard as well. Who would you say are some of the jazz folks that you really admire? Because I know I'm a big fan of jazz and blues, a fan of Buddy Guy, John Coltrane, Miles Davis, Thelonious Monk, B.B. King, a
Well,
number of other ones. But who are some of the jazz legends that you remember listening to? Maybe your mom or your parents got you into them, but who are some of the jazz folks that are your go-tos?
like my favorite jazz album is the Colors of Spain. Um, Coltrane, of course, Thelonious. And then you go into like older like Michael Franks,
Yeah,
Michael Franks and Kenny Rankin and Ricky Lee Jones and really timeless type of stuff. Um, I really enjoy Miles Davis though. Sketches of Spain. Excuse me.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
understand.
Sketches of Spain is my all time go to jazz album. Um, and it just puts me in a state of I like to write to it. So I think the jazz musicians were hand in hand with the beatnik poets and stuff. Though they're just exploring and just trying to find different avenues of expression and breaking out of the box of the contemporary type of sound. And I try to mimic that through my music too. Um, I try to emulate like a horn at times and stuff though.
Mm,
So uh, that's it has heavy influence within my being and who I am as an artist. And yeah, I have the utmost respect and love. My
oh yeah.
grandfather really got me into it, and not only was he a martial artist, but he was a professional jazz guitarist too as well.
Oh wow. Were there
Yes.
other
So,
family members that were into jazz or into music as well, or is this something that is part of your heritage in the sense of being other folks in your family that were musically inclined, or were you the first and
absolutely.
main one that was musically inclined?
Absolutely. I come from a long line of entertainers. So my dad was a funk drummer. He was one of the top funk drummers in the state of Hawaii, and he was part of a funk band called Fantasy in the '70s. They toured all over the Philippines and the United States. And then my grandfather too, as well, was into the jazz and was on records too as well. And then I have family that were dancers and martial artists and athletes and stuff that I'm not going to drop their names, but high up in the rankings of their professions. And so I was around it my whole life, you know. it was definitely um, had an influence on
Gotcha. What's one of
that.
the main things that you think that they taught you about the music industry? Because we know that the music industry can be a very difficult game and can be one that can definitely have its heartaches and everything. And a lot of times there are corporate entities that are in control of the venues as well as the radio stations and things of that nature. So, as an independent artist, what are some of the lessons that these forefathers and your family taught you, or that you've learned from others as well?
Absolutely. Just hold on your craft. Do art for you. Do art for you. Once you have that understanding, then you can mature artistically. You don't do it for anything else. Do it because it makes you happy. And it may sound fucked up, but excuse my language. It may sound messed up, but but you do it for yourself, and it doesn't matter if anybody likes it. You do it for yourself, and maybe, and if anybody doesn't even understand it, if you touch that one person that doesn't understand it, then you did your job. And that's what I try to hold in my heart and soul when it comes to this music, and it comes to my art, is that you do it because it makes you happy at the end of the day. And once you could really grasp that understanding, then you can mature as an artist, you know. And
Yeah,
that's what I try to take, as basic as possible with that
yeah,
with
that
that.
makes a lot of sense. And what kind of roadblocks have you run into when dealing with the corporate end of music? Because we do know that unfortunately music has that very corporate side of it, which it means that a lot of times it's the Live Nations and the Clear Channels and a number of those other things that are in control of the main entities. And I know that a lot of times independent artists don't feel that they get the kind of respect that they would like to get. So I was wondering how you cope with that and how you try to get your word out when a lot of times we're facing those barriers because of the ways that the corporate structure is put out there musically.
Constantly work on your material, build your material. You really have to be proactive with everything that you do, put your heart behind it, and just don't ever stop. Don't ever stop. And then once you have meaning, like when you get frustrated, go back into why you're doing this, and have fun while you're doing it, and just keep pushing. And at the end of the day, look back and look at yourself. And did I really put a lot, all my effort? Was I really proactive in what I was doing? Could I have done more? And you should go happy at the end of the day if you did, and just have faith in it. Um, your intentions, it's all quantum physics, so it's your intentions shouldn't be like, I need money off of this and whatnot. So it's when it comes to your art, it's coming from a higher purpose. So there's a bigger meaning. It's bigger than the money. It's bigger than the fame. It's bigger than that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Now, we had earlier talked about COVID and the impact that COVID's had on a number of musicians. A lot of folks aren't doing club gigs or spoken word gigs, or they're doing them limitedly. I know some friends of mine are still doing their spoken word event at the HI Heritage Center in Durham, but they're doing it in front of a very select, small audience, and then the rest of it is going out virtually. So they're not doing what used to be a bigger hall and all of that. And we know a number of other folks that are trying to do creative virtual concerts and all of that. So how are you able to perform in this COVID era that we're in? And what are you seeing as the future for music and spoken word in, say, the next year or two as they're trying to roll out the vaccines and try to get it where we can be in a safer space? But in the next, say, rest of 2021, as well as going into 2022, what do you see as your performance outlets, and how are you going about getting your word out there?
Well, I have a live stream that's happening on the 28th for a record release for my album that drops Sunday one. It's on all digital platforms right now, and it's difficult. It's frustrating. I'm actually talking to people on the mainland, meaning on like out of state, and where everything's on hold right now. The people want to play like more than ever, so it's kind of a being patient thing. So we're we have all the pieces in place, and we're just kind of like waiting, but until then, you could see content on all my social media platforms, and I'm using those as outlets, as well as just keeping keeping the material consistent. And so I'm trying to drop music every other week and put out videos or blogs and whatnot. So I think I'm getting my creative juices fulfilled in that way. But until then, um, we're just being patient. You know, there's I got a lot of friends that are just on hold, and it's just frustrating because we all can't really make a move right now. But other than that, as far as just being seen and heard, uh, go through my link tree, Sun the One link tree, and I'm dropping material every day. Every day I'm putting stuff out. It's not a blog; it's a freestyle or me just hanging out or whatnot. Though, so you know, I'm
Yeah.
being seen. Yeah.
Now I know that you and Eris have the daughter and everything. So, what is your thought about them getting into the entertainment field as well? So, is that something that you're going to encourage them in as they get older, or is that something that y'all are going to try to keep them away from?
Oh, speaking of her, excuse me if I've been like shifty during during the conversation because she's running around over here. She's wanting to go to the beach and stuff. I promised her a beach day, but of course, if she wants to be a part of it, for sure, absolutely, absolutely. Um, it's not going to be a forced thing. I know that it's not going to be a forced thing. If she's interested and she wants to dabble in it, then I could help her, and then I'll be there when she needs me, But other than that, you're not going to get any kind of show dad stuff out of me. So I'll encourage her on whatever she wants to do. Um, you know.
Gotcha. And one of the other things I understand is that, and I think Eris may have shared this with me and everything, is that you are also very proud of some of your cooking skills and some of your skills within kind of your own culture and things of that nature. So I'd love you to share a little bit about that as well, because I think that y'all might have had some kind of like meal yesterday or some other day recently where you were kind of sharing some of those Hawaiian treats that are out there and everything.
Oh, absolutely. I love cooking. It's a therapy for me, and that's when I play a lot of jazz, is when I'm cooking. So I love all types of food. Probably my favorite thing to watch is the Food Channel. So I just it's fun to me. It's something I would never really want to do as a profession, but I just like trying new things out, and it's cool and it's like a therapy. I'm at peace. Nobody's bothering me, and I'm making people happy. So it's kind of like music too. You know what I mean? So it's just like I just like making people happy. At the end of the day. So yeah, definitely cooking. I'd love to cook for you one day. you know. So absolutely, yeah, definitely. So it's just my stepfather went to culinary school, so he really got me into the culinary aspect at a young age. Um, really wanted to make a point, and I'll do this with my daughter. I want her to know the difference between good food and junk food, and being able to hold herself in a fancy restaurant without being intimidated. You know what I mean? It's important things to know. Knowing to taste the difference of different food and appreciate different. So it's all experience. It's another form of art. So it's like it's a fun thing for me. I'm definitely a foodie.
Oh yeah, cooking is definitely a very popular thing. I know that throughout the country, and I think even in Hawaii, a number of
Yeah.
these food trucks became very popular, and they seem to be all over the place. And I know that they're
Yes.
very popular in California. They're definitely popular here in
Yeah.
North Carolina and New York and a number of other places.
Absolutely. So I cook a lot of like Filipino food, Hawaiian food, which is like adobo, and to show you chickens, and that's it's funny because Hawaii has a lot of starch, so there's a lot of potato salad too as well, and everything's served with rice, or there's mac salad. Like Hawaii is the only place where you'll have like three different starches on one plate. So you have mac salad, rice, potato salad, noodles. You're just like, whoa, like carb overload. So we got a lot of gravy here. So there's like, it's brown gravy on everything. So you have so many different ethnicities here. It's just a melting pot of different foods. So you'll go to a potluck and you'll have Chinese, Filipino, Hawaiian, Japanese, Korean, Mexican. You know, I'm starting to see some Creole food even pop up, and Puerto Rican food pop up out here, because that's what the plantations consisted of, was Japanese, Chinese, Filipino, um, Portuguese, Spanish, and Chinese, and that's how we had the what we call today Pidgin English. Is they
Right.
came up with dialect to communicate, sort of like Creole people. So we have
Mhm.
our own dialect here. It's called Pidgin English, which is actually just became a language. Uh,
Oh,
uh, yeah, absolutely. It's there's that patois that goes on out here, which we call pidgin out, and then so it's just been a melting pot of cultures. Food came together, and there's really good food out here for sure,
guys.
and
How
everybody
how
like.
how are the native cultures treated out in Hawaii? Because I know that there's an active Native American community or Native to Hawaii community as well, and I know that I've even got some Native American blood in my own uh, bloodline and everything. But I was just wondering, how is the Native culture treated? Because I know a lot of times, whether it's Hawaii, whether it's Australia, whether it's the North America, a lot of times those communities are not paid as much attention to. So I was just wondering, what is your views as to how the Native population is treated?
We are very kindred with the Indians, Native American people. We're very kindred. We I could identify together. Those are our brothers. We stand with them, um, and got each other's back for sure, because we're all coming from the same place of that we had something stripped away from us, and just not being recognized, to this day, and still being taken advantage of to this day. So absolutely, those are our kindred brothers, um, whether it's in Alaska, or North America, or throughout all of California. Um, we stand tall and proud with our Native American brothers and all indigenous cultures, for sure.
Yeah, a lot of those indigenous cultures were definitely impacted by colonialism and by slavery throughout the world. And I think we're even seeing some of those impacts even in the 21st century. It's a shame that that's even going on now and things of that nature. And a number of folks are just now getting recognition in terms of their own cultures and things along that line. So we're seeing even some tribes that are just now starting to get federal recognition.
Yes, and shout outs to John Trudell. Uh, he's a big influence for me too as well.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely got some great influences. Like I said, I'm a big fan of the late Russell Means, who was part of AIM, which is the American Indian Movement, things of that nature. So definitely there have been some influences out there. He was definitely a contemporary of somebody that we had talked about earlier, which was Malcolm X, and definitely a contemporary of Martin Luther King as well. So definitely a great contemporary in that sense. What is something that you think that folks may not know about Sun to One that they should know? I mean, I know that there's some things that you don't want to necessarily share, like who some of the famous family members are and all of that. But if that you can share, what is something that you think folks may not know about you that you wish that they did know?
I'm a really good dancer. I'm a really good dancer. Really good dancer. And a lot of people think I'm super serious, and know, if I have this hardcore facade at times, but I'm just a laid back dude. I'm real simple. I like simple things as far as just like nature and whatnot. So I think it's a big reason why I went back to Hawaii, and I'm a lot more chill than people think that I put myself up to be at times, because it's hip hop. I'm in a hip hop world. It's And then I've been around a lot of street people too as well. But I'm really mellow, So at the end of the day, a lot of people trip out on me because they're like, "Wow, I thought you were a lot different." But I'm really just a laid back dude. I like to clown around, and I'm a family man, basically.
Definitely, and that family man aspect is very important and all of that, and I know that that's important to both you and your queen as well as the young one and all of that. So definitely, if you could share with our listeners the importance of a family to you and the importance of the young family that you have, as well as you've kind of alluded to it, the importance of family as part of your heritage. So I'd love to hear you share a little bit about your thoughts about the importance of family.
Family is each one teach one. The importance of family, it just shows you to have patience, to have understanding, to take that time, and that once that time happens for an individual, you realize that it's more than ever is that it's not all about you anymore, and certain things um, become less important. Um, and to preserve that legacy, it takes you as an individual, whether you're the mother or the father, to step up and be that example, not only for your other half, but for your child in general, and for them to carry on that type of legacy. And if you came from a kind of background that I came from, you really want to break the chain of that. Um, I grew up. My father was in jail. Um, I seen him deal with drug abuse. He really wasn't there for me growing up. And I've always been one of those kids that never really wanted to feel sorry for themselves. I just wanted to break the chain. And through me being able to break the chain, I could do it through my child. I could do it through my relationship. I could do it through how I conduct myself as a human being. Um, and it saved my life. One of the best things that happened.
Yeah,
Is
definitely. That's a great attitude you got towards the whole family and everything. One of our other shows that we air here on IBMTV.tv is a show called Weed Wednesday, and the gentleman Jeff Eachin is oftentimes talking about trying to get a lot of our folks out of jail for nonviolent offenses, and he's actually done a great job of that. And I know that you were involved in that field for a while and everything, meaning the cannabis field. And we definitely are seeing more and more people having an understanding that we need to have more states legalizing, and I think that we've got like a record number of states that did that this past election. So I'd love to hear your thoughts about the direction that we're going in the sense of cannabis laws.
I really think it's important for us to educate each other about the properties of what cannabis does and also CBD does. But this is the thing: we're fighting against these high-powered pharmaceutical companies that they know the understanding of what the power it has, and they don't want that to happen. They want people strung out on pharmaceuticals, and it's like fighting the 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 one of the most powerful corporations in the world, and they're taking heed of the the benefits of cannabis, and now they're trying to jump on that, and it's a frustrating thing. um, I could go so deep in I lived in Humboldt for quite a bit of years, and it's just in the area alone I lived in was generated in southern Humboldt $1.4 billion in the summer through the cultivation. And I think through education and each one teach one type of mentality that we could pass these laws, because we would have less drug abuse and um, all types of different things beneficiate the benefit from that. Sorry, it's such a deep question that I want to go into so many different directions, but I don't want to get too deep and be too long winded. It would have to be a different show, So I'm just trying to keep it as short as possible because I'm so passionate about it.
No, I appreciate you. And like I said, we'll have to have you come back on and talk about it even in more detail and all of that, because I'm definitely open to having detailed conversations about a number of the things that you brought up today and everything. So we'll definitely have you come back and maybe share a little bit more of your detailed thoughts about that. Maybe even get you on Jeff's show and all of that, because we do have that show that actually focuses on that on a regular basis on Wednesdays. But as Eris will tell you, I'm not opposed to having people coming back multiple times and sharing their views and their thoughts and all of that. So definitely know that you're always welcome to return. I'm actually getting ready to probably wrap things up shortly, because I don't want to be the one that the young one kind of like talks junk about because you're not going to the beach with her and everything. So I'm gonna like do my part to wrap things up very shortly and everything in terms of this conversation. But I did want to bring up, and it'll be just kind of like that wave kind of thing that folks will see in the background. But I do want to bring up one of your tracks. I played one as y'all were trying to get on earlier and everything, but I want to hear a little bit about Garden Island Riders, and if you can tell folks just a little bit about what that's all about, and then I'll maybe we'll put on the track that I played on earlier as well. And always at the end, I try to give folks an opportunity to share their words of wisdom, their final thoughts, and all of that. But tell us a little bit about Garden Island Riders before I put on the track and let folks hear it and everything.
Garden Island Riders is a verbal illustration of where I came from. I'm speaking on the social change from it coming from a small town to being taken over by corporations, and trying to preserve the culture of where I come from, trying to celebrate the beauty of where I come from. And I'm speaking on persevering and through hardship, as well as seeing a different option of living as a whole, and just having that fire within you to push through all the negative, no matter what's going on. And I'm just celebrating the people and the island that I come from, that I dearly love, which is Kauai.
Cool. We're going to check out a little bit of Garden Island Riders, and then we'll be back with more conversation with Thunder One.
1, 2. Yeah. No matter where I've been or where I stay, the Bay or LA, never forgot the island I came. Kauai make me proud, stand strong, we forever untamed. Independent, top of the chain. I either could never be conquered, abused, but never broken. This land, ancient sacred land, which beauty holds 1,000 emotions. Where Kamehameha's final resting place still remains a mystery. Feel history, observe how the mana grows infinitely. Relentless spirit of our ancestors, perseverance running pure through these hip veins. This is that new school spit. I'm tired of seeing my people dying, hurting and pain. Wrath, the matter daily erupting to each page, each phrase, waking wisdom strike like double-edged blade vision, severing the mindset of a modern-day slave. This ain't living, but fit not these days. Eternal fighters, freedom riders, mind and lighters. If you feel what I'm saying, put up your lighters. Eternal fighters, freedom riders, mind and lighters. If you feel what I'm saying, put up your lighters. Eternal fighters, freedom riders, mind and lighters. If you feel what I'm saying, put up your lighters. Eternal fighters, freedom riders, mind and lighters. If you feel what I'm saying, put up your lighters. But now we ain't fake. That's how you can ever break. I'm blind towards your hate. We shine cause we crave. But now we ain't fake. That's how you can ever break. I'm blind towards your hate. We shine cause we crave. Take a stroll through an old immigrant soul. Making below minimum wage. 96 degrees, thirsting for shade. 360 degrees of understanding self. The only thing constant is change. Before I train mentally, similar to BJ Penn, anticipating defeating the cage. Somehow my people still pen up with rage. Still mind grows within the community every day. You know what they say, if you learn to serve Kalia, you can't charge anyway. Because of that, I'm prepared for whatever obstacle comes in my way. What other island-headed people risking their life to keep the super fairy away? Calm man, lead us astray. It's all political, fuck what they say, Miss Lingle. You ain't heard, we've been fighting birds. And I ain't talking nay-nay, I'm talking about to pay mortgages. Eternal fighters, freedom riders, minor lighters. If you feel what I'm saying, put up your lighters. Eternal fighters, freedom riders, minor lighters. If you feel what I'm saying, put up your lighters. Eternal fighters, freedom riders, minor lighters. If you feel what I'm saying, put up your lighters. Eternal fighters, freedom riders, minor lighters. If you feel what I'm saying, put up your lighters. But now we ain't fake, my style you can never break. I'm blind towards your hate, we shy cause we great. But now we ain't fake, my style you can never break. I'm blind towards your hate, we shy cause we great. Welcome to my home, the place where champions are made. Hunter, amongst the tightest today. Fix up a play. No need to get all Hollywood for real people with real talk. Not crack rocks, glocks, and switchblades. This is more like cakes in the endless sandbox. Embrace the innocence. Watch a smile glisten on their face. Picking up heat fishing, impeccable scenery, ocean to Malca. Listen, it seems strange. Somehow ethics diminish, man. We have more family values and child to raise. Childhood laughter, chase master, tackle football in the pasture. Little did we know how much would change. So there I was, east side, solo pumping Pacololo in a rusty bobo, wondering what happened to the south side and Honolulu. I'm working no play, pay attention. Eternal fighters, freedom riders, minor lighters. If you feel what I'm saying, put up your lighters. Eternal fighters, freedom riders, minor lighters. If you feel what I'm saying, put up your lighters. Eternal fighters, freedom riders, minor lighters. If you feel what I'm saying, put up your lighters. Eternal fighters, freedom riders, minor lighters. If you feel what I'm saying, put up your lighters. So that we ain't fake, my style you can never break. I'm blind towards your hate, we shy cause we great. Go to that we ain't fake, my style you can never break. I'm blind towards your hate, we shy cause we great.
Wow. Yeah, that's some powerful music right there and everything. Definitely was sharing a little bit about your thoughts and everything about impacting of your society where you grew up and all of that. So definitely, I think folks can learn a lot about you from the music that you played on that particular song and everything. So definitely some great lyrics, and I think a lot of folks will definitely wanted to know more as to where they can reach you. So where can folks find you on the World Wide Web, and where can they find this music as well as some of your other sounds if they're wanting to hear more of it?
Thank you, brother. You can find me on the easiest way to go to all my links is a link tree. You go Son the One, it's SONDAONE, Son the One, link tree. As well as you could Google Son the One. I'm on Facebook, Son the One, Instagram, Twitter, and I think TikTok now. And so you can find my music on Spotify too as well. Just type in Son the One. I'm through on all digital platforms. And the easiest bet is just to go to my link tree, and it links all to my social media.
That sounds great. And like I said, I'm not going to hold up you too much longer because I do want your daughter to get to that beach trip that she wants to get to and everything. But that being said, I always like to give my folks that are being interviewed a chance to give their final thought and their wishes for the world. So definitely this is your opportunity to share any positive words that you'd like to share or any messages of hope that you would like to share for the entire globe, because we do have folks that are watching from as far away as Australia, South Africa, and around the world and everything along those lines. So any kind of words of encouragement that you would like to share?
Well, I just want everybody to know that it's not how much time you fall, it's how fast you bounce back from the whole situation. We're going through some dark times, and just I just want everybody to just keep your head light and just be the things you're thinking. And if you don't want to be those things, stop thinking them. It's a powerful thing. Like attracts like. And I appreciate everybody. I wish everybody success and love and health. And thank you, Mark, for providing this platform. And much aloha. And then we say ahui ho, where I'm from. And that's never goodbye. It's until we see again.
Sounds good, and I definitely look forward to seeing you again. I'll be reaching out to Eris, and I definitely hope to get you back on again in the very near future. I love the energy that you provide and everything, so definitely I think that you got some great music that you've already put out there and some great music ahead of you as well. So I look forward to hearing even more of the great things that you'll be dropping in the very near future.
Yes. All right, my brother. I really appreciate you, and God bless. And thank you, everyone. Thank you for your support. Much aloha.
No problem at all. So appreciate that. And there's the young one trying to get their moment in the sun as well. So we gotta have the young one get their moment in the sun and say hello. Hello there, young one. There's the young one. The young one's like, I'm ready to go to the beach. Y'all need to stop talking. So the young one's like, I'm ready to go to the beach.
Much love, guys.
We'll get off to the beach and everything along those lines. I think the young one is ready to get their attention also. Is Eris there so we can shout and holler at her as well, or she disappeared?
Yeah, you want to say hi?
We're going to do shout out to everybody.
Hi.
We've got the king going off to the beach trip now, so we're going to let them get off to the beach and all of that. So definitely a great interview, and I look forward to seeing y'all. Y'all have a good time at the beach, and don't get too much excitement out there, but I know y'all will enjoy that fine surf and all of that. So we'll catch you later. Yep. So that was Son DeWan, and definitely some great music that he was providing and all of that. So definitely some amazing sounds. And I think that we heard some great things that they are putting together and all of that. So we're going to give you just a taste of one of their other cuts, which is Never Fearful. Like I said, I'm giving you a little bit of dose of Never Fearful as well. And that's how we'll wrap up this particular edition of what we've had as a special edition of the radio show with Mark Lee. And like I said, I didn't know I had to get this interview in early because they had schedule conflicts for my usual Monday and all of that. But y'all may be hearing this on Monday in addition to some other parts of the usual Monday interview as well. But right now, let's check out Never Fearful, and then that will wrap up this particular edition of this show. So we're going to give you a taste of Never Fearful as well.
Music waves and thought patterns.
Always a student.
Living with that wisdom.
They golden.
Find lessons in the rhymes.
Always a student.
Living with that wisdom.
Fire. Always a student. We celebrate birthdays, but never asked to be born. Debate religion, never praising the Lord. Rappers acting soldiers, but never raised a sword. Always a student, knowledge has been absorbed. It's like diagnosis, rap Ebola, scientific grind bipolar. Amnesia hits once guns out holster. Media bulldozer, blockade, blood clot, path unfolded. Stevie always told me to stay golden. Bladed, amputated, separated, disillusioned. Head from shoulders, sun's blowing up like suicidal. Islamic soldiers, saturated techie culture. They sheep like the whiz they told you. I awaken the Quincy Jones poster. Savage haze hovers gray over the age of ochre. Appearing as Jehovah. Locusts, rats, and vultures, blatantly biting cobras. We drink top shelf, your Mad Dog 2020 throw up. We are never fearful, always persevere through. Even under what I hear and half of what I see.
Music waves and thought patterns.
Always a student,
living with that wisdom.
They golden. We are never fearful. Always persevere through, even under what I hear and half of what I see.
Find lessons in the rhymes.
Always a student,
living with that wisdom.
Always a student.
Legends that bless the grind, uplift what they left behind. Envy that fire in the belly, tell me less is fine. Find lessons in the rhymes, all I do, press rewind. Living with that wisdom through the system and the stress we climb. Still put healing in the air while your people stare. Navigate by feeling propaganda, pump the weak with fear. Complete beast let off the leash this year. Wild ways, chains broken, open lanes and keep them clear. Music waves and thought patterns circle my sphere like Saturn. Individuals shattered, divisible and scattered. Abnormal way of life, formal and polite, but never raise your voice for the family or the fight. Geronimo devotion, heart on the land is stolen. Work my plans to raise them hands up like the ocean. On and on we keep going. Once a rock turned to sand, before and after chapters of a boy turned to a man.
We are never fearful, always persevere through, even under what I hear and half of what I see.
Music waves and thought patterns.
Always a student,
living with that wisdom.
They golden. We are never fearful. Always persevere through, even under what I hear and half of what I see.
Find lessons in the rhymes.
Always a student,
living with that wisdom.
Always a student.
Video killed the radio star. Digital killed the tape recorder.
So you'd rather watch you break than make your own mark. And the longer that it takes, their rates just gone arc.
Skyrocket. Nowadays every conspiracy theory sounds. And the internet is into and wearing me down.
Find fallacies and arguments of nonsense. and drop on them like a dummy in a bomb test. Connect your center, represent together. If you didn't get it, click the definition into Webster's.
We would rather read than be read to.
And we could never press the reset button for the vignettes that been through. Future is a question mark at best upon the menu, so we taking what we need to, and the rest is what we give you.
Not for vanity and cheddar cheese, for energy and family, through melody, for sanity and strength inside the sinew.
We are never fearful, always persevere through. Even none of what I hear and half of what I see.
Music waves and thought patterns.
Always a student,
Living with that wisdom.
they go in. We are never fearful, always persevere through. Even none of what I hear and half of what I see.
Find lessons in the rhymes.
Always a student,
Living with that wisdom.
always a student. Always a student.
Living with that wisdom.
Always a student.
Music waves and thought patterns.
Always a student.
Living with that wisdom.
Always a student.
As I was saying, that was a pre-recorded part of the interview that I did yesterday with Son DeWan, and that was an amazing interview that we had with him. And I know that he's definitely got some new fans and all of that. As a matter of fact, I saw that Brother Mike was watching, as was one of our founders, Kimberly Calhoun, and we're definitely glad to let them both know that I have talked to Eris, who is not just his manager, but his other half as well. And she was definitely saying that she would love to have him come back and maybe spit some pigeon, as well as share a little bit of more of his music, maybe even release a song here on our network and all of that. So that would be very exciting. I'm definitely going to be pushing for that. And they've got another one of their clients that'll be coming our way on the online dinner party, and that is a visual artist and everything. So it's a visual artist that they are part of their wave of talent as well. So definitely looking forward to that conversation on the online dinner party. And there's some other people that will be joining that conversation as well. And who knows what mystery guests I'll be coming up with. You know, I've got to find somebody from North America, as well as somebody that is more of a global person and all of that. So I'll be doing some reading, talking to some people, trying to come up with somebody that will be our mystery guest and all of that. You know, I love finding good mystery guests. I was actually surprised that none of y'all could figure out Houdini last time, since Houdini was one of the mystery guests. But then again, y'all didn't figure out Annie Oakley either. So maybe I've got to come up with some better clues and all of that, or maybe make them a little bit easier. And of course, we're going to kind of come up with some other trivia games and other games as well as part of the online dinner party, which comes your way on Wednesday. So that is on Wednesdays between the hour of 4 and 7. Usually on today, I'd be saying that I'm running off to do my audio podcast, but it being MLK and all, Dean and myself decided that we were going to have a rerun on this particular edition. So I'll actually only have to do 2 of my podcasts, the 2 streaming podcasts here on IBM TV and all of that. But we'll be back next week with the audio version of the things that I do. So that'll be another busy Monday. But actually this time, I'm going to take it easy, because I know I've got to get ready to go back to measurement on tomorrow, that being the day job and all of that. And after a 3-day weekend, you know, it's going to be real hard to get back into the groove of doing assembly line work and all of that. So we're going to see if we can't get back into the groove and get up at around 7 o'clock or so I can be ready for work at about 8:15, 8:30, or along those lines. But definitely try to get back into the groove of things and all of that. But I'll also be paying attention to what's going on in the world. We do know a number of folks are seeing how the vaccine is rolling out. A lot of folks are also concerned about how the checks are rolling out, those stimulus checks and all of that. So we're going to be paying attention to that as well. I think that another one should be coming my way, and I know that I need it as very desperately to pay care of some bills and all of that. So hopefully Biden will get that passed real fast and all of that. And I know some people that are still looking for their second one, and they hasn't come to them yet either. So there are people waiting for their second one. I guess I'll be waiting for my third one. And of course, there are a number of other things that folks will be paying attention to as well. And I know a lot of folks are also very much concerned about the inauguration, as well as attacks on various state halls and all of that, as we saw what happened with those attacks that was part of that insurrection movement and all of that. It was definitely not cool at all, and folks should definitely be getting the punishments that they are getting. And as in some cases, it feels like they're even getting just slaps on the wrist and all of that. But definitely, hopefully, folks will, consequences for the actions that they took and all of that. And definitely, we do not need to be having insurrections of that sort on the White House grounds. And hopefully, everything will be somewhat of a smooth transition on Wednesday. So the same day as the online dinner party, that will be the day of the inauguration. And by the way, I went to my first and only inauguration when Obama did his first inauguration, and I went with a dear friend, and we actually enjoyed the inauguration. Was actually in a fairly decent position, wasn't like super close, but we were in a fairly decent position and got a chance to check that out, observe that, and to be a part of that historical moment and all of that. I remember afterwards I ran into Katie Couric, the news anchor and everything. She was going around covering something, and she just happened to run by me and everything. And then I also remember that, as many folks, we were waiting to get to our place of residency. And in this case, it was my friend's relative's house that we were staying at in DC and all of that. But we had to wait. And I remember being at both the Native American Museum as well as the Aeronautical Museum and checking both of those out while we were waiting, as the African American Museum had not really been developed at that time. So that's just some of my memories of that one and only inauguration that I have been to. I've been to DC a couple of other times, including a memorial celebration, or celebration, I should say, about the MLK March. And we do know that this is part of what this day has been about, is MLK. And I do remember going with my dad and my younger brother to a anniversary march of that historical march some time back. I can't remember the exact year. I'll have to talk to my brother and my dad, and we'll try to reflect on when that was so I can share that with you. But I do remember us definitely being there among a whole lot of folks that were commemorating that 1963 famous march there in DC. And there was even some incidents that were kind of comical that went on, and I may share some of those with you at a later time. But right now, I'm getting ready to get on out of here. So I'm getting ready to bring up some of our usual things that we bring up toward the end of a show, including some of the great other shows that exist here on the network. And of course, we love bringing up the ambassador to wrap everything up in that regards. So I think I'll give you a dose of at least one of the other shows that exist here on the network and everything. And then, of course, I will definitely bring up the ambassador so that y'all can see what the ambassador is all about in that sense. But right now, let's check out Talking Upstream and what they're all about.
कोरोना वायरस से कैसे बचेंगे? ओके, हैंड होकर और ऐसे अपने खांसी जब आएगी तो ऐसे करेंगे, अच्छू अच्छू। और कोरोना वायरस को धन्यवाद हमारा म्यूजिक सुनने का।
And here's this plane to get us on out of here.